This week on Waxing the Porpoise, G-Baby and the usual suspect Steve welcome back special guest and friend of the show, the Spearmint Rhino himself, Hydraberg from A Cut Above Horror Review, to discuss the strangely sincere and subdued Nic Cage Ridley Scott smacker from 2003, Matchstick Men. Join us as we discuss Ridley Scott's most decidedly un-Ridley Scott film he's ever made, treat ourselves to a devotional from the Cage Man himself, flashback to a little Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, and ask the question, what is a Jamaican Switch? Do you ever feel like dressing like a tin of shortbread? Let's wax the sympathetic porpoise.
Chase, don't do that.
You see, we working on his brow chakra. We're just in back at the crown chakra.
Alrighty, welcome to Waxing the Porpoise. We are on episode 46 now. I believe it's 46, where we're covering Matchstick Men from 2003. Tonight, you've got myself, as always, Jim G. Baby.
Well, I only bring it up because it's you. You're the Rocket Man.
And as always, we have the usual suspect, Steve.
I looked at the fight tape, Lincoln! Yeah! It was a phantom punch!
How's it going, man?
Good, man.
That's an old one from Snake Eyes. You ever seen that, Nick?
Yes, I have.
Gary Sinise?
Yeah.
The old guilty pleasure. And as you can hear, we have back once again joining us from A Cut Above Horror Review, friend of the show, Hydraberg.
Ever heard of a lie? Hey, have you ever been dragged to the sidewalk and beat until you pissed blood?
What's up, guys? I actually have been dragged to the sidewalk and beat until I pissed blood. But it goes away in a couple of days. And
That sucks.
It happened at a strip club.
Damn.
No, I'm just kidding.
I've never pissed blood.
Neither have
I can remember, but I thought I did one time. I have a quick anecdote about that. I think I've told you before, Steve. Like I took a shower and we had brand new towels that hadn't been washed yet, and they were like a deep red color. And you know how like if you don't wash towels first, and you'll get like a bunch of fuzzies, shit from the towel, kind of if you haven't washed it yet, like straight out the store. I got out of the shower and I fucking I think it was in a hurry. I did a brisk dry, so I was just like shimmying and shaking, fucking like really trying to dry the fuck off. And then later on when I went to go take a piss, and the piss was flowing, but it wasn't where it should have been at the time. Like I should be hitting back of toilet right now. And I looked down and it was like a pressure, like building up in like a pipe or like a fucking, like a hose. And I was like,
over a hose.
Yeah. I was like, wait, what's happening? Like panic set in, like 0 to 100. Like I thought it was like the tip of my dick was going to fucking burst open like an alien or something. And then slowly but surely, like a big ass fucking dark red fiber starts pushing out, and it hurt. So I was like, is this
and it hurt
like a fucking blood clot? Like, is this blood? And then I fucking yoink it out, yoink. And then the piss just starts flowing. I'm like, oh fuck, thank God. And I hold it up and it's just like a big ass fucking fiber from this towel that I had briskly
Jim, how big is the prick of your dick, bro? That you could get, like, how do you dry off?
Dude, I don't know, man.
Well, you
think about your toweling off real quick, you get the boys real quick and you just
if you do
up
the,
and down,
aggressive butt floss a little too hard.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you skin your fucking sidewall. Been there.
Yeah. The grundle floss.
The grundle.
Yeah, I've never pissed blood. I wipe my asshole till it's raw, but I've never fucking pissed blood.
Oh, that was a fun aside. Thanks for coming back and joining us again. I'm looking forward to hanging and talking with about this one. It turns out I think I lied that I thought I had seen this, or maybe I did, and I forgot every single thing about it.
Yeah.
But this was basically a brand new experience for me. Steve, you'd never seen this one before, or had
Nope.
you?
Nope, never seen it.
I remember when it came out because this was like 2003, so I was about 18. I don't think this was like in my. I don't think I was the target audience for this flick necessarily, but directed by Ridley Scott. He's one of my favorite directors of all time. And as we'll talk about it, this felt very distinctly not Ridley Scott to me, like in any way.
Different.
But what's your history with this one, Nick?
You
You had suggested this one, didn't you?
Yeah, somehow we got on it last time when we were talking Fallen. I don't remember if it was on air or after we had finished recording. We got on movies somehow, and this one came up, and I think Steve had mentioned he hadn't seen it yet, so I was like, oh, this might be a good combo, good film to talk about. I actually forgot that Ridley Scott directed this one.
Yeah,
I was surprised to see that when I was looking it up.
I mean, he's made some
it's not really like most of his other work.
No, yeah, I mean he's made like other stuff that's not like sci-fi or action kind of heavy,
Yeah,
or sci-fi heavy, but this one I feel like is distinctly like the most non Ridley Scott type of film.
Kind of feels like one of the films like maybe his brother would make instead.
Yeah, like Tony Scott. Yeah, totally. Although he is in the same style. I'd say he's a little bit more of like an action.
Yeah, he did
director.
Man on Fire, right? Tony Scott.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
He's done a bunch of other stuff too. I'm a bad movie buff right now, not being able to rattle them off. But if I looked at it right now, I'd be like, oh fuck, of course. He did a lot of shit, and but yeah,
I think he did Book of Eli also. I'm not positive.
Yeah, I gotta look him up now because that's just gonna fucking.
I'm on it.
Ass.
But yeah, thanks for having me back on.
Yeah. Totally.
Oh, Domino, he did.
Oh,
Unstoppable. Unstoppable, the train movie.
My name's Domino Javi. That's all I remember from that in the trailer.
He's produced a shit ton of films.
Yeah. Unstoppable, The Fan. Ooh, yeah. Aren't you a fan of that one, Steve?
I remember seeing it when I was younger. I mean, I don't have any particular fond memory of it, but yeah, I think I remember liking it when I was young.
And it centers on the Giants.
Yeah.
And De Niro. Oh shit, he did True
Enemy
Romance.
of the State.
I
saw that.
Yeah.
True Romance. Yeah, he directed it. Wow. Oh shit, Last Boy Scout.
Yeah, he's kind of a sleeper. Like
Days of Thunder.
I haven't seen a single one of the movies.
What? Really? You never saw David? He did Top Gun.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop.
I've seen Top Gun for sure.
Shit, he's done it.
Yeah, I know that. I know you're a big Maverick fan.
He did The Hunger with Bowie, that fucking weird vampire flick.
Of that whole list you mentioned, I've only seen The Fan, which I imagine is probably the shittiest of all of those.
Crimson Tide. Yeah, The Fan's not that great.
No.
Man on Fire, he did.
He did
Deja Vu.
Revenge with Anthony Quinn and Kevin Costner. That's a fucking good movie.
We just covered a movie called Revenge on A Cut Above. Different movie though.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that one, so I'm waiting. I'm gonna try to squeeze it in.
It's a good watch, man. It's on Shudder. It might have some trigger warnings for some people, because it's like a rape revenge film. But yeah, I recommend it.
I'm a sucker for revenge. That's
me too
for sure. Yeah, so yeah, his brother's done a lot of shit, kind of similar, but yeah, this one is a huge departure for Ridley Scott. Like, it's kind of weird actually watching this. He's just trying to branch out, I guess. But cool. So I guess, or do we have anything else? Is there anything else going on before we get into the into this flick that you guys want to discuss? New or noteworthy? Watched anything? Done anything fun?
Well, did you want to touch on the movie that we just both watched recently?
Yeah, totally.
I watched the Outwaters just before. I've seen a couple things recently, actually. I watched Infinity Pool. I went to the movies and saw Ant-Man the other night. But yeah, the Outwaters I just watched because you told me you didn't like it. Like, you really didn't like it.
I fucking hated it, man.
So I was like, now I got to watch it.
I was mad. I was genuinely like, I'm mad. Right
What's
now.
it about? I've never heard of it.
It just
I guess spoilers for.
Spoiler alert! If you want to watch the Outwaters, don't fucking watch it.
Yeah. Also, boner alert, just in case.
Yeah.
It's like a found footage film.
Yeah, instead, dude, watch Butterfly Kisses. That's a way better unseen that deserves way more love found footage. Like this Outwaters, I think I overhyped it, so I'll put a lot of that on me. Because the marketing for it kind of hyped it, built
Yeah,
it
it
up,
did.
and it looked like
And
pretty freakish.
The trailer
Really cool
looked pretty
setting.
cool.
Yeah, like I thought they were gonna deliver something, and to me, it just fucking fell flattered and shit. Like the
My
biggest
issue
thing
with it
is
was that it
the
was
flashlight,
boring.
the magnification, the flashlight. How you could only see a
Yeah, that was
small
lame.
circle. That was horseshit. That's not how fucking flashlights work. And I was getting so frustrated seeing a circle, like a small dinner plate of
Yeah.
scenery for, I would say, half the movie at least.
Yeah,
That
it
pissed
was
me
very
off.
frustrating.
That sounds pretty annoying.
And even the kills and like all the shit that happens, super unsatisfying. Fuck all that.
So-
There was a couple glimmers of shit that I liked and I thought were intriguing, and they didn't do. You can go back to like, oh, they left it to your interpretation, and it's like they don't want to, spell it all out and regurgitate. It's like, no, you got to give me a little bit more than that, because
So
you're playing with some cool ideas. But it's just like this, it's so abstract and you're just throwing it out there and you don't come back to it. You don't explain even the tiniest bit. It pissed me off.
I can see why you kind of like compared it to Skinamarink too, because there's literally moments where it's like for 15 minutes I'm looking at like a bush or like part of the floor of the Mojave Desert and a
Or this
guy's
dude's
bloody
bloody
foot,
ass fucking feet. Yeah.
bloody feet. And so the premise I got was like, this dude went crazy, right? And just kind of he killed his, like the desert got him or whatever. He went and he killed his friends.
Yeah, and then he's
But
getting
there's
shot
like a
through
time loop
dimensions.
thing, it looks
Yeah,
like
there's a
they're
time
playing
loop,
with.
which I liked a lot. And then
Yeah.
he's like getting sucked through these like weird kind of portals and shown like different points in time. So
That's what that light was.
it was him the whole time. Like when it shoots up, he's like, "Oh no, go away!" And he's all covered in blood and got the hatchet. And he's like looking at him fucking self and like,
Yeah.
I fuck that movie.
I think the premise was really cool, but the execution for me just felt like sort of, you could tell it was made really cheaply. I don't know, man.
And kudos to that, but the story was just not there for me. So
it just didn't engage me. It was like very boring.
Yeah. Yes.
What's it called one more time?
The
Outwaters.
Outwaters. Okay, I'll try to make a mental note to never watch it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's the type of film that you would end up wanting to watch anyway, because I feel like you'd take a look at the synopsis and be like, nope, that's not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you're not a big fan of like found footage, or you wouldn't be, Steve, in general, like a Blair Witch style.
I actually just watched The Blair Witch for the first time ever a couple months ago.
The very first one?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I liked it. I didn't really... I had seen a very brief part of it a long time ago, and it was at the very end where the guy's like standing looking into the corner. Right. And I was like, that's kind of a dumb way to end it. And then when I watched the whole thing, I was like, oh, that actually makes sense. So
part of the lore.
Yeah, I liked it, at least in that regard.
Right on.
But
yeah, that's like the the benchmark. It wasn't the first one to come out as found footage, but I think it was like the first 3 or 5 actual found footage style movies, and it's the one that like bumped it up into the zeitgeist and the movie going.
I mean, it has to get a few extra points for originality.
Yeah.
And everything that comes after that is graded on a harsher curve, as it should be, because it's not really an original idea anymore. So, I imagine at the time when that first came out, it was a pretty cool thing.
The marketing is what really propelled it. I feel like there was the sci-fi documentary that aired before it released that made you think like this was a real case that you just weren't familiar with.
I thought it was a real case for the longest time. And that's not an uncommon thing. Like a lot of people that were like pretty impressionable, I would say 17 or 18 and under when that came out, I think a pretty good good chunk of those people thought that it was real, at least for a short time. I thought it was like real for a long time. Like the way like the missing hikers, like I thought they were actually missing fucking hikers, because in 97 or 99 when it came out, like the internet wasn't like what it is now, obviously.
Right.
20 years later, where you find shit out in 10 minutes, or someone leaks something, or
fake. immediately. Not real.
Trolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like they marketed it very smartly at that
And that
time.
was like that point in time too, was like they got in, like, you know, it's like when the gold rush strikes, they were the first one to fucking make it in and bounce out, you know, like, so yeah, that was like a perfect storm for them. That sci-fi documentary was rad as shit. And
that's what I watched one night before I even knew what the Blair Witch was. I watched that and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then the movie was released and I was like, oh shit, this is the video of the hiker. It's like,
yeah,
even
they
though your
totally
brain says,
played it up.
I feel like your brain says, well, then they wouldn't release this kind of thing in a theater to make money off of, right? But then I don't know, part of you talks yourself into it too, because you're like, well, I don't know what our society would sensationalize nowadays. Like,
yeah, we're in a whole
that's
new
when reality
world.
television was just starting to get rolling and stuff like that. So like,
yeah,
there was a market for people wanting to watch these sort of things, and true crime and stuff like that was taking off. So
yeah, even that,
I don't know, it was believable at the time, I feel like.
That Grizzly Man doc was pretty rough at the end. It's like, yeah, and him and his girlfriend were torn to shreds by these two grizzly bears there.
Yeah, dude, that I've heard did they release some of the audio in that documentary?
So this is a point of contention where I saw it back, it had to have been 05, I want to say. And I swear, I don't know if this is a false memory, but I would bet money that the version I saw included the actual audio at the end.
I think you're right.
But as I've read about it since then, I think they changed it and took it out because I mean it's pretty brutal, like, and it's not something you would easily forget. And now it's one of those things where they say you just can't find it; it's been scrubbed.
Right.
But I don't know. I could be wrong, but I have a vague memory of hearing the audio, and it's fucked.
Well, yeah. I mean, they've done that with media, and now the ease in which to do that now is a lot easier, like going in and scrubbing stuff. Like there's been cases of that even like super recently, like with Disney releasing their streaming service. They went back and fine-tuned and scrubbed a bunch of shit from older movies and put in things like disclaimers and things and put on their streaming service. So that makes sense that they could have scrubbed it. But the one thing that lends credence to that too is just recently, I don't know if it was like a mini documentary of the documentary of Grizzly Man or if it was just a clip, but they showed he's a director, a famous director. I think his name's Werner Herzog. There was like an interview and he was allowed to listen to the uncut original raw audio of them getting fucking eaten, and it shows him and his reaction and shit, and it looked like it really fucked him up.
That's not something that just goes away.
And I guess he took the headphones off and he's like, no one should ever hear of this, and like real like ominous and cryptic. So yeah, I've heard people describe like, you know, you can hear like squelching and like bones and flesh and like guttural like primal screams of like crying for help. But I can't imagine it'd be fucking pretty.
Yeah, well, him and his girlfriend are both getting attacked, and at certain points, from what I remember, they're talking to each other at the same time, and it's I mean, it's not quick. It's not a quick way to die, that's for sure.
Nah.
Yeah, because I mean, bears, they do have like biting force, you know, strength, like pressure, but their teeth, from what I understand, aren't like super sharp. So yeah, I feel like it'd be like being grinded down slowly, like by like a machine, you know?
Yeah.
Fuck
yeah,
that.
it's probably a tough lesson. Herzog was in Mandalorian too. He's show me the baby.
Let me see the baby.
Let me see the baby.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up going back and retroactively taking out smoking from old movies when they can. And dude, this movie would be such a great candidate. I don't know what the choice was, but some of these old movies, it's like you don't need to smoke 1,000 cigarettes in the movie. As a former smoker,
when you have OCD like he does.
Yeah.
Myself as a former smoker too. I think we're all former smokers, like, for at least a decade or close to that. And yeah, it was too much. There's some movies where it's like it makes me nostalgic to have a smoke. Yeah. This one felt very like when in like the summertime when you're like, I gotta quit, and like it's not cute anymore. Like when you're just like you jonesing, you having a Nick fit, but it's like painful the whole time. Like each drag like hurts, and you're like, I felt that when he's like smoking and he's vigorously cleaning his house, I smelled like the pungency of like Lysol and like fucking Clorox wipes and sweat and heat and cigarette smoke. I was like, fuck that.
Yeah, because he doesn't open the windows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
just
his
kept
fu-
thinking, like, you're such a clean freak, but your house has got to smell like absolute shit.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
how crazy you're going, you got to be ashen everywhere. So, like, for how crazy fixated he gets on those 2 little carpet fibers, like,
I know, I couldn't understand that he was a smoker. It just didn't make sense as much, too, with everything else. But you see, like, he kind of leaned into it more when he wasn't on his meds, right? Like, when he was bugging out.
yeah.
That's when he smoked the most.
I think that
his
maybe
cleaning
that
closet
was
was fucking stacked, bro.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was like one of those fucking those extreme couponer families in like fucking Idaho. Their whole basement's just fucking racked out with like every size Ziploc bag ketchup.
Yeah, it was like John Wick's gun cabinet, except when you opened it up, it was just fucking cleaning products and Lysol sprays and fucking wet wipes. So yeah, for me, I don't know. This is like when I first saw this film, it just kind of stuck with me as like, oh man, like Nicolas Cage he does. First of all, the guy's when he passes away, he's probably going to have like over 1,000 films in his filmography. Like he takes on so many jobs, and they're not all the best, but he has an acting style where sometimes he's in something dramatic and like a slower burn, and then sometimes he's fucking super zany. I feel like this film kind of straddles that line where he can do a little bit of both in this film, and that's what I kind of drew me to it. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah, I'll say one thing that I did notice in this that I appreciated, because spoiler alert, I didn't really like this film, but I enjoyed some of the performances. But one thing I distinctly could tell was, I think Cage, whether he was aware of it or not, I think he did a really good job at like that straddling that zany and trying to keep it together line. And then, you know, like as he runs out of meds, has to get more meds, and then slowly realizes they were just a placebo. And then like towards the end, I feel like you could see an arc, like a progression, like he's like getting a hold of himself more and more, I guess. And by the end of the film, he's like, it seems like the tics are down and he's like, you know, like he's working, he's not conning people anymore. Like I appreciated that probably the most. And yeah, dude, the pygmy shit got me every time.
Dude, he's blaming pygmies for everything. When the lady opens the fucking when he's after they're trying to scam the old people with the filter,
yeah,
and he's they left the door open. It was bitching.
Yeah,
I love that. I love to also like some of the physical, like I feel like he reined it in pretty well, but like when after he flushes his first set of pills, which looked like fucking
Viagra.
No, it looked like what's it called? Damn it, Benadryl. It just looked like Benadryl. Like
yeah, but they were blue, right?
Ass pink. No, they were.
Oh,
pink.
they were pink. Okay,
they're like bubblegum ass pink. But anyway, after he drops those, and then he calls frantically his doctor. And he gets like nowhere. They're like, oh, he moved. He owes me back rent. And he hangs up on him. And he does that fucking like, with his arms. He does that little tick. That shit fucking cracked me up.
He had a funny mannerism too. A few times where somebody would ask him something or say something, and it would short circuit his brain, and he would just God, I love that.
When his daughter was like. Well, daughter, you know, quotations, was like questioning whether he was a criminal.
Yeah,
like subtle.
So, Jim, you didn't like? So, I actually really do like this film. I think,
really,
I don't know, it's different to me. I really like the dynamic between Roy and Frank. Like right off the bat, I like when we get the glimpse into like how they run their scams and you know their home office and you know like. How they, you know, they contact people from the office and ring them in, and then, you know, they do the courier service thing, and then they have a bunch of other scams that they, you know, I don't know. I've always just been fascinated by like grifters and con men in general. Just it's just an odd lifestyle to live.
Totally, and I like Sam Rockwell a lot, but I didn't like him a ton, to be honest. In this film, I feel like he was kind of I think he was kind of just like going through the motions a little bit in this one. I did at the beginning like the back and forth, like the pick and roll that him and Nic Cage have. It felt a little superficial, and I wish they would have dug in. I think there's time to like cut from other places and add a little bit more to
show them scamming a little bit together
to their routine or their shuck and
Yeah.
jive. I would have liked that more. Like if because at the end the betrayal, I feel like it would have paid off a little bit more if you would have showed them a little bit more like thick as thieves.
True, I could see that. Or like you could see the moment where Frank sort of decides like
I felt pretty early on. I was like, I feel like this guy's gonna fuck him over.
He's Sam Rockwell. You kind of, I feel like you almost think that when you see he always plays a character that's sort of like,
he's kind of slimy.
Like, yeah.
I'm not saying that like I'm some like great detective or something, but I feel like they still could have. I wish they would have added on to their back and forth a little bit more. Steve, what do you think? Did you buy those two as like a strong duo?
I did. I liked it a lot. If there was I did quite a bit actually.
Wow.
If there was like a bingo card of the things I love in movies, this one hit quite a few of them.
Yeah.
I love con artistry. I love a good anti-hero, like a bad guy, but you're still kind of rooting for him. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Love a good mental illness storyline. I liked the back and forth between those two, and also between Roy and Angela. I thought they had a really cool vibe.
Yeah.
And I bought
Absolutely.
it from, beginning to end. I think Nic Cage gets kind of a bad reputation, and I know we joke about some of his shittier movies, but I thought he did a really good job in this one. Like,
so did I.
Yeah. I won't argue that either.
And I also went into this. I try not to read anything or watch a preview. Like, I'd like to have zero thoughts or preconceived notions going into it. So when I rented it, it was like a con man, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, I'm going to stop reading it. I'm just going to watch it. So all I knew is that there was some storyline involved with con artistry, which I enjoy. But then as it goes on, it becomes like a sweet father-daughter story. I was like, okay, right. I'm fine with this too. Whatever direction it wants to go, I have no idea. So I was also trying really hard not to be that annoying person I have inside me that's trying to predict what's going to happen at the end. I try to shut that down because it doesn't serve me. It just distracts me from.
That's so arrogant. Yeah. That's screw off.
Yeah, so I actually really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. It could also be like, obviously it's a similar theme, and I think it's a similar time frame, but it also has a similar feeling to Catch Me If You Can, which I love that movie.
Yeah,
I do like that movie a fair amount, as much as I hate to admit that.
That's a good film.
I will say the final reveal in the end, I did have a moment where I had the Nic Cage like, my first thought was like, I don't like this. I don't care for it. It doesn't make sense to me. But then as it kind of settled in, I was like, okay, I could see how this is like a viable thing. It didn't seem completely crazy, outlandish.
Right.
Yeah. I'll say that like the first time I saw this film, like I didn't anticipate that coming.
I didn't.
The double cross. Obviously, it's something you have to worry about in that field, I bet. But I do think they felt like they had history as partners. I didn't think that Frank was gonna end up doing that to him. And I just never ever thought that Angela was a plant. It just felt like part of the plot of like, it's about a con man who realizes he has a past and a daughter, and it's like how she changes him a little bit. Like you said, like their relationship just felt genuine from the get-go. And you believe that like, she's a 14-year-old girl who's like spunky as fuck and he doesn't know how to handle her, but
yeah, it's like an alien.
But they're like together. Like it brings a side of him out that he's been kind of pushing back, you know what I mean? That might be why he has these tics and things like this too, because he's not really living his best life, you know what I mean? He's making money, but he's not happy.
Yeah, and he's lonely as shit, probably.
Yeah, he goes
doesn't
to
have
the
a
same
TV
checkout line every day and sees
doesn't
that
even know the
lady.
bitch's
Kathy.
name, yet she has a
Yep.
name tag clear as
You
shit.
can tell she's into him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, from Jump Street, she's giving him "I want to fuck you" eyes, and then
Yeah, which is
he
hilarious
doesn't have any
considering
books. It's like, what does he do? He cleans.
Yeah, considering what he's buying, can you imagine the real life version of that where a cashier is like, more tuna and packs of cigs. I'm interested.
Tuna and fish, baby.
Yeah,
no,
that's
fucking way.
Yeah, huge red flag, buddy.
I love that moment where Frank comes. He's like, "Bro, where you been? I've been calling." He comes in just chowing on the food, and he's like eating it like so aggressively.
Yeah,
and like a slob, and he's just like spilling shit all over. He says, "I promise I'll take my shoes off." And as soon as he walks in the house, he goes right to the carpet.
Pygmies. See that? I like that too. Like later on, like you see Cage even starting to slip from his own rules. Like, yeah. I mean, it's pretty blatant when he's like, he's fucked up and he goes on like a 2-day bender on the couch and it's all messy. But there's that point where he goes in and he steps on his own carpet without taking his shoes off. And Sam Rockwell looks at him and he's like, pygmies. Or he's like, hey, you forgot to take your shoes off, asshole. Yeah, he's like, oh, pygmies, fuck. So it's like him slipping on that shit, you know, and like to me that was the progression of like him getting over that, like that OCD, all those tick things, you know.
He's also distracted too because I feel like, and Frank's counting on that, you know, because Angela's she's a wrench, you know, that's been thrown into his life,
right? And it ends up being an opportunity for Frank, played by Sam Rockwell. See, here's a question to you guys: is do you think that what's Alison Lohman's character name? Angela. Did you think that Angela was like a reliever or like someone that Frank knew?
Yeah, she was hired by Frank to all those actors, the doctor, the cops.
Wait, okay, Jim, I thought it was by happenstance, like she was just like some grifter in this town and like maybe they had met up at the fucking what's that, dude? I love the name of this gentleman's club, the Spearmint Rhino.
Yeah.
Is it at all unclear that she was hired by Frank?
Did I miss that? I could have missed that if that was.
Well, yeah,
I wasn't sure if you didn't know she was hired by him or if you thought she was like his protege.
I mean, it seems pretty clear. I thought anyway, because then at the end when she's talking about how Frank like fucked her on the cut.
By the end, I mean,
they were clearly in cahoots. Or am I misunderstanding your question?
No, I understand that they were in cahoots the entire time.
Yeah,
I'm curious if she is just like grifter in the city that he happened upon, and it happened by happenstance, or if like I guess this isn't really an important question. I was just curious, like, or if you thought that like he knew her from another city or like was already acquainted with her and brought her in from the beginning and had this entire fucking plan mapped out from everything.
I mean, he definitely had a plan. I don't know when he decided to engage it.
Because I feel like the introduction of Angela, like he probably had a plan, and then the introduction of Angela like changed his plan. He adapted it.
No, I think the plan started.
No, she was introduced
when his doctor skipped town, and Frank was like, "Here, I'm going to give you a number to this guy, and he is a plant also." And then
I understood that.
So then he relied on the psychiatrist
too.
To call the wife, which he never did. But then he says,
Nick Cage gave all that information out willingly, right? He gave it to the doctor. He asked the doctor to call his wife.
So there's a couple things that needed to happen for this very long con to happen.
Yeah.
He had to assume that Nick Cage wouldn't call his ex, who he hinted that he like beat the shit out of her when she was pregnant.
Yeah, I picked up. It was very fast. Like
she had a black eye, and
I gave her a black eye,
and I gave it to her. Yeah, he said he was drinking a lot during those times.
Yeah.
So it might have been before he found meds. So that's like how he was dealing with his issues. Was he was drinking
and beating
So
women.
he had to count on. I mean, this is a extremely long con. So he had to count on Nick Cage to not call the wife. It's called the long con. So then the only other time where looking back, tell me if you see anything else. The only other time looking back that he was real close to blowing the whole thing was when he's talking to Angela about getting custody, and he's like, "I just need to call your mom and get the paperwork filed." And all it would have taken was one call to the ex-wife. But I mean, Frank must have known this guy's such a fucking whack job. He's so spun out because of this gal that there's no way he's going to call her. And I think Frank knew from the beginning that like all of this mental shit that Roy has, it's all in his head. It isn't real, which is why he orchestrated the whole thing. Like, yeah, just give him some female, like femme booster, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Menopause. So,
yeah. Yeah.
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole?
I think there would be an issue if they made this movie today, because there would be like a mental health stigma of like, oh, you're saying people with these OCD, like they're just faking it and they just need to get it. I
get that. Funny. I could see that too. Like, I
could see I could see people trying to call this film out because of that.
Yeah.
Just for attention or whatever it would be, but I don't think it portrayed people with OCD or with like tics like that in a negative light. I mean, I'm sure people could try to fucking strawman that by, well, he's a fucking con artist and he's fucking people over. Like, you're making him look like a scumbag because he has OCD and all this shit. Like, no.
I think it just shows how difficult it is to live your life with these issues and have, have a successful business and do your everyday stuff and your responsibilities while dealing with this and have interactions with people. Because he has Frank and that's it, right? He has nobody else in his life. The cashier lady, he just looks at and walks away.
Yeah, just Kathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've known people with OCD and like like how he does the door and the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Like, there's some people that have to do like certain lights like 16 times every time.
I think if anything too, if it speaks on anything, it could speak on that, like, there's a reliance on medication in our world nowadays where like sometimes trying and deal with your issues naturally while taking medication, but not relying on it as much. And then some people wean themselves off of medication and find other means to deal with their issues and aren't as, some people need medication all the time. I get it. But like, I feel like society's so quick to just say, hey, take these 5 pills and they'll work. And that's, that's placebos mess with your mind. Your mind sometimes just is so powerful that it thinks, oh, well, I took the pill, so I'm obviously going to feel better.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we were just talking about that a couple weeks ago, I think, either before, I don't know if it was on an episode, but yeah, like, just like how, I mean, it almost sounds trite, kind of, or like gee whiz when you say it, but it is fucking like, because you hear about, oh yeah, the placebo effect, but if you actually sit and think about how nuts that is, like, that your brain can, like, take, this is what it's going to do to you, and then you're told that and you believe it, and then your brain does the thing that this shit's supposed to do for you and makes you feel that way. Like, that's insane. That sounds like magic. Like, it doesn't sound like science.
They'll take your hand. Like, I've seen that where they have the guy, he has like his real hand behind like a little cardboard thing, and then they have like a fake hand in front of him, and they're like rubbing his hand with like a feather and the fake hand with the feather, and then eventually they stop rubbing the real hand and just doing the fake hand. And his brain is processing the stimulation from the feather, thinking it's real. And then if all of a sudden they were to like bang a hammer on the hand, he'd think he was in pain, even though it's a fake hand.
Oh shit!
His brain's
crazy.
Like, yeah,
that's like reverse like phantom limb.
Yeah, shit, well, I think that's basically what it's triggering is that same effect that the phantom limb is doing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
My mom was an amputee. She lost her leg, and the phantom limb thing is, it's weird. She would tell me about it, like how it felt. Like sometimes she would have an itch she just couldn't scratch. It's not always pain.
Does it go away? Like, does it only happen at the beginning, or?
I don't know. I don't know if over time it got better. I never really inquired that, but I just know that like it was like every once in a while. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of it's just like when you have loss in your life. Sometimes you forget somebody's gone, or like so. It's like she would forget, and then her brain would sort of fill in that like, yeah, your knee itches right now, but she didn't have the knee anymore. So it was like,
dude, that's gotta be so infuriating.
Yeah.
Like, oh fuck, I gotta scratch my shin. And
Yeah, I
it's
feel
just
like it's always associated with like pain, but it's not always. Sometimes it's just an uncomfortable feeling of like I
or like
gotta
a
scratch my
tingle or
fucking calf.
something.
Yeah,
Or,
tingle.
like the feeling like when you like get a dead leg or something, and then it comes back, and it's like the fucking sand itchies. I
But
hate
yeah, like
that
you
shit.
said, when you lose somebody, like intellectually you know they're gone, but there's like a weird emotional thing, and I think that's where the denial comes from. Like, well, no, that's not possible. They were just
Yeah.
here, you know.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Like I just spoke to him. There's no
right.
way.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I like when he's talking to the therapist for the first time and he's like going through the scenario of like, and I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, I think about sometimes like just ending it all and like blowing my brains out. But like I'm staring at my carpet and like
Yeah,
then I start thinking about like I start worrying about like well if I blew up my brains out and like then it got on the carpet and then I worry about it what it would do to my fucking carpet.
yeah.
So yeah, that's my life and just give me the medicine.
That was a good part. That reminds me too, like the first time where it's really emphasizing his fucking like OCD is when like it does that quick smash cut to like he's like it's like you go into a cold sweat and he turns and it zooms into those two carpet fibers and he's like huh! And then it's
Yeah.
like he changes out of a suit into like his like cleaning jumpsuit of like all gray sweats and sweater gloves and he's just fucking going to town smoking probably 30 cigarettes in 2 hours.
And the daylight, like any sunlight coming through the blinds, is just like blinding and like.
I like
makes
some
you
of those
disoriented.
effects. Like it made me feel like, oh man, what if that's what that was like? You know, where if you had some like really strong aversion to something, like fuck. I've almost felt like that once with like I got allergies really bad one time and it was super sunny out and I was driving
Yeah.
and dude my eyes just started fucking leaking like someone had turned on a faucet. I had to pull over. I couldn't drive. Like it was like the sun and the fresh cut grass. It was like late spring. Like these allergies it was like a trank dart.
Wow. Yeah.
So
I do
kind of
think
reminded me of that when they open the slider at the beginning, that first con, and he sees all that buzzing shit, and it's all yellow.
Yeah.
Like,
and everything's moving at a weird pace.
yeah,
That reminded me of that feeling I get like if I drink way too much fucking coffee, just that like anxiety induced like, oh fuck, I don't feel so good, you know.
when you're drinking the nitro.
Especially if it's on like an empty stomach, right?
Yep.
So
Oh yeah, that's the worst.
I do think the crux of this film is like it is the relationship with Angela. Like for me, that works. If it didn't work, this whole film wouldn't work at all.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like I think this is kind of like a heartfelt story. I mean, like he loses in the end in a sense, but he wins, and everybody kind of wins in a way at the end. It's a weird story where you expect like this story could have went a bunch of different ways, where like someone got killed or like. You know, like our main guy that we're kind of rooting for, he loses. He loses all his money. He loses everything. But then he gains a family. He gains his confidence and a new life. Angela, she gains her independence and like, you know, like her like confidence also in like her womanhood and like and who she is. Even though she got scammed by Frank. And we just assume Frank's probably out there, you know, scamming still, you know. There's no like, oh, well, Nic Cage has to get back at Frank now. Like, no, he let it go. He let it go. He got scammed, and he respects that. He respects the hustle.
Right. I liked that
That's
too.
why he
That,
doesn't turn
that they
Angela
didn't
in.
show him like because what I thought they were gonna do, which somehow I would have liked less, is I thought it was gonna be because pretty early on I was like, I think Sam Rockwell is gonna fuck him over, Frank. That's easy. And then I did enjoy the Allison Lohman, like her coming in and like, oh, he's gotta like try and find out how to be a dad and like he's got this in his lap. And I liked their back and forth. They're kind of like really unorthodox, kind of awkward at first interactions. And but like towards the end, so I thought what was gonna happen was okay, so Frank's gonna try to cross him, but then it's Nic Cage and he's gonna fucking cross back. He's going to be like the sage master. Like this is my final, you know, thing to give you, like my final trick or something. And then he was going to come out on top in the end. But I liked how they kind of just played it kind of like, well, yeah, he got screwed over. But like what you said, he did gain like he looked like he got well, like he became better in some way, and then went after the gal at the checkout and like stopped being so fucking like OCD about shit. He was able to like find some kind of calmness.
Like he just lived his life without trying to control everything, and you know, he like became super comfortable in like just everyday stuff and living. I think it's endearing. I love the ending of how he comes home to her.
Yeah,
because we get the scene of him going to the checkout, and you're like expecting to see her because they've gotten that image in your head of like, oh, he's at the grocery store, and then you just see random dude, and you're like, yo, where's Kathy, bro?
I right there, I kind of felt it, and I had to smile. I was like, she's at home.
Yeah,
I was like, she's
and then
cooking.
She's got a bun in the oven.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, but I thought that was a cool little touch. You know, kind of playing on like, you know, like the sympathies of him thinking that he had a daughter and like enjoying that and like realizing what he missed out on probably and like and wanting that. And so I thought that was cool, but I also did too, like at the end, how, you know, you could expect him to fucking like go off on Angela, like he sees her and like it's tense for a second, but then, you know, and you can see the progression even in that scene of his eyes, and he's like, and you see him soften, and by the end it's like it was a good interaction, and he
was still fatherly to her, right? He's like asking her questions that a dad might, you know, like, are you happy, like how are you doing?
And I think that transcends like the label, or like,
you know,
or like just because they weren't blood, they shared a piece of time that was significant. I mean, it brought this guy out of the funk, you could say, or the life that he was in. He became, by virtue of meeting her, he ended up in a better place, you could argue.
Yeah, and I think her too, in a sense, like.
Right, because I did buy that she wasn't scamming that dude. Like she was genuinely into him, and like she was ready to, you know, like start her own life, you know, without all the bullshit. So I thought that was I did like that interaction and that ending. So
I remember being sort of weirded out in this when I first saw this film too, because I'm like, you meet her and she's like this 14-year-old plucky kid, and then like you see her in that carpet scene, you're like, she's kind of hot. Like, what happened? I don't know how to feel about this.
So we can absolve all of
14-year-old kid. She's probably like 25 or something.
So we can absolve all of ourselves here and now. She was 23 years of age during the filming of this. So, I mean, she's a con really artist too. Yeah. They say she's 14 when they introduce her in the middle of the movie. She could believable. Be in the movie universe. She could be 20, 22, 23, what she actually is. But, I mean, I kind of bought like 14, 15 because she is kind of smaller and real skinny.
Yeah,
and
she's like petite.
And not knowing her as an actress, like, or how old she might be, like seeing a fresh face, I totally bought her as like, oh yeah, this is like 15-year-old girl. But at the end with the black hair, and like she definitely like, it's like you can see, oh yeah, I can buy her. She's 25, easy too. But did you realize, quick hitter of trivia, the dude that she was with at the end, Fran Kranz, he played the stoner in Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to say it. What were you going to say, Steve? You look like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, yeah, I totally bought she was 14. And that kind of led to me thinking like, wow, what a great actress for being so young. And then when she comes back in the end, I was like, maybe she's 18. And she just looks young, like one of those catch a predator decoys. And then when I looked it up afterwards, I was like, no fucking way is she 23. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, she got a totally different look in both those scenes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, completely.
And I do, you know what? I wrote a side note too. It's like this came out at a totally different time before the game even came out. But G Baby, you've been watching the show. She would have made a really good Ellie if in like
yeah, I could buy that.
Like the way her character was, like obviously time wise, it wouldn't have lined up.
But, the kind of attitude, low key sass on her,
sort of plucky teenager. Like,
dude, that's crazy. Savvy. I can't believe she's older than me. That's nuts.
Yeah.
She was born in 79.
Yeah, so I looked it up like 1979.
Dude, she's 40.
She's older than me.
45. Even now, like she's
just about my age. Like,
dude, she looks like a baby for 45. That's insane.
I like the altercation Roy has with her too, like when he first has to scold her when she comes home late.
Yeah.
And his like choice of wording is like really funny. He yells at her. He's like, "And you're a nosy Parker," and he doesn't know what to say. He's never done this before. He's like, but he's worried. Like the father inside of him is like coming out. Like he cares about somebody other than himself, you know. And he's like, and it's a different relationship than he has with Frank. It's not professional. It's emotional, you know.
Yeah, and it's believable the whole time. It never once to me came across as like, okay, this is overly saccharine sweet or whatever. It just seemed, I don't know, I bought it the entire time.
Yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing. And imagine having like being told you have a daughter and she's dropped in your lap when she's 14. So you didn't go through like the smaller stages of like changing their diaper and, you know, like she's a young adult and now she's like saying things that he doesn't know whether he should scold her for or just encourage or whatever. Like, I don't know. And he doesn't know what to share with her because his lifestyle is very questionable.
Yeah.
When she's drinking the beer, he's like, a beer.
I don't know.
Yeah. From a guy who fucking eats 1 can of tuna a night and then I like all the steps that he took. Like he put on like a double set of like rubber, like yellow kitchen gloves.
To get rid of the can.
And then a fucking Ziploc bag, putting that in and then putting it under the sink into the trash. Like, Jesus Christ.
It's crazy. I do like I like when he takes her out and runs the con with her.
Like buying 8 packs at a time. Dude, I don't know if you guys ever smoke those. That's like, it has a filter. It tastes like a Lucky Strike non-filter. It's like one of the harshest cigarettes like ever. You only see like 65-year-old men smoking those. Anyway, I thought that was just like a really hardcore brand of cigarette choice for this guy.
I liked when they run the con and he teaches her, like she begs to be taught how to con a little bit. And he takes her out and shows her like some basic stuff like the lottery ticket. And we get the woman, I forgot the actress's name, but she was in Donnie Darko.
Darko Motion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was great. And just that scene, I don't know, that scene was just really cool to see Angela involved in that and him sort of playing that bit character with the newspaper and then he walks away.
Yeah, 4 out of 5 is a winner.
Yeah. I kind of wish I've always been fascinated by just these things. Like, where do you learn? Like, how does someone's life turn into being a con man? You know what I mean? I've always wondered, just like how do you become an assassin? Like, there's no fucking school, there's no Google posts for like, hey, you want to be an assassin? Join now. So it's like, what makes a person into this? Like, Steve, I was very curious. Like, and I'm not comparing it exactly, but so you do the card counting, right? Which is perfectly fine. But casinos don't like it, right? So they want to kick you out. But I could imagine like you're in this environment where like you might be rubbing elbows with some of these type of people that are living this kind of lifestyle where they're and there's like you're in those environments where like I wonder like have you ever met anybody that you thought was a grifter or?
I've seen people who I think are laundering money. That's about as far as I would go. But I did definitely notice a correlation between con artists and card counters because there's like a certain level of social engineering, which is a phrase that I hate, but it's sort of applicable in this sense where you're trying to convince somebody else to think about you in a certain way. So a con man would do that. You know, you want them to think about you and whatever. You're just a Fed investigating fraud or whatever. Or as a card counter, you want to convince other people that you're just another degenerate gambler to blend in. So I also definitely noticed a correlation or similarity between the two things. I guess I would say.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what made those episodes that you put out too very interesting too. Is like those kind of lifestyles that people are just very curious of or don't have the courage to ever like try and live themselves, and to hear of somebody else speak of it or see a movie that touches on it, it sort of piques your interest. I feel like when you're like, oh, and this is a film that like there's plenty of con man heist films, but what I like about this film is that it gives you that emotional that value also like. Yeah, how many films really delve into that? You know, it makes it very personable. Yeah, like you feel for Frank. I mean, for
Roy.
What's his name? Roy. Yeah, and
because most heist movies you don't get like the background or I mean you do in some, but like not to the degree
about the
or in the
heist,
style of this. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's the focal point. Whereas
And this film
isn't.
is about the heist, but it's happening right under your nose. You don't realize it while you're
Right.
watching.
I felt like the heist stuff was always kind of swirling around the periphery, but like the eye of the storm in this film was the relationships, and particularly like once the introduction of Angela, like that's what this movie's about and what makes it go in its ultimate direction and gives it meaning. I mean, I guess I didn't really hate this movie. Maybe it was just the mood I was in today when I was watching it. Like, I don't know. I was like, what is this movie doing? Like, I said that a couple times, like out loud while I was watching. I was like, what is this?
That's a valid criticism.
It's kind of an odd movie.
This movie. It is an odd film.
It is.
And I feel like it's a mood thing too. Like because I could totally see being in a different kind of mood, this hitting me differently and maybe me enjoying it. And when I say I didn't like this film, like I feel like it's probably, I think the way maybe you felt about Possession, Steve, it's like it was just under the cusp or the threshold in which I'd say, yeah, I like that. Like it was just under that. It wasn't like I didn't hate this movie, and I think there's cool things about it that I can isolate. But yeah, this definitely wasn't like one that's like, oh yeah, it was garbage. It's like I didn't. It's not really my cup of tea, but like there's things in it that I enjoyed.
I think it's just I don't know. It's like a warm film. It just I didn't anticipate how much warmth I thought it was going to have. Like when I watched it, and to see. I don't know. Just to see Nicolas Cage sort of have, to rein it in a little bit, but then he can, do a couple scenes in this film too where you do get that zany Nicolas Cage. I thought that's nice to see.
Right.
He does have range as an actor. Like people just sort of shit on him, but that's like people used to shit on Keanu Reeves all the time. Like, oh, he sucks. He's not the best like emotive actor, but when it comes to physicality, I mean, if you look at the John Wick films, like he's so fucking good in them because of that.
Yeah.
Because that's his bread and butter. That's what he's good at. So I think
I feel like he's come into like a renaissance of
actually
mainly
absolutely.
with the John Wick, but like he's back being into like a commodity or identified as like a professional,
Yeah.
Well, and I think
But
people also just like him. Like I think he
That's
he
true,
has a
too.
reputation of being a good dude, which nowadays I think
he's
takes you a little further.
like fucking Like you've
Yeah,
seen the
absolutely.
stuff
He
where
is a
he
good
gets
dude.
up, where he gets up and gives the woman his seat on the subway. There's
He
that.
takes public transportation as a
Yeah.
superstar.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys that kind of disconnects himself from the Hollywood bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Which I dig.
he's got a couple really good quotes too, like on like interviews of stuff where like like you would expect a stock
From Denzel.
dialogue answer, just like a easy cheese dick.
Yeah, some blowhard
And-
bullshit.
Yeah, and he'll
Like when he was talking about being a lover and a fighter. Did you see that one? With
no,
Keanu?
I didn't.
He's on a talk show, and they're like, "Are you a lover or a fighter?" He's like, "You got to be both. Like, you can't love something without fighting for it, right? Like, you have to be a fighter in order to love, because you have to fight for that love. You know what I mean? Like, so they kind of go hand in hand. People tend to
Dude,
separate them.
nice.
Did I just blow your mind, G baby?
Yeah.
I can't take credit. It's Keanu.
No, he's got some stuff like I think he's got that kind of a stigma of like the surfer, like whoa, and like the all that the Bill and Ted's and yeah, dude, is it you that still has never seen Point Break, you asshole, Steve?
I've seen it. I think maybe once in my life.
Please don't
I love
badmouth it.
Yeah, I love that movie. It's so good.
I have no recollection of it at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's like
okay.
a sleeper hit to me. Like,
Oh yeah,
it's one of those films that just like I get like why some people maybe don't put it up there in their lexicon of film knowledge, but I just think it's over time it's just grown on me. Like it's a good action flick.
It's awesome. It's fucking rad as shit, dude. Him and the Sways, like that was like they were. I wouldn't say that's the peak, but they're getting there, man. Like there's some awesome parts of that movie.
There's some good dialogue, and because so Swayze is like a super likable villain. You know, he's not really even like the villain, you know, per se. Like,
I
it's
mean,
like the system's the villain. Like, yeah, he's a bank robber.
Yeah, if
but
you had to pick and pin, like, yes, he's the villain, but yeah, it is like
there's a mutual respect between them.
Yeah, totally.
That you get, and then like, yeah, he robs banks, but he robs banks just so he can fund his lifestyle of like just going surfing, bro, like hitting up waves and.
Dude, I love the line where he's talking about. He's like, "What's it all about?" You know, like the life, like they're just like living like summer to summer, wave to wave. You know, and Swayze says, "What's he say?" He's like, "It's the place. It's like where you lose yourself and you find yourself." And he's like, "And you're right there. I can see it." Like, just like kind of cheese dick, like surfer. It's really stony, but dude,
just get pitted.
Yeah.
It does speak to Keanu in that moment, though, to Johnny Utah, because he is in that moment in his life.
Yeah, where he's like, do I want to be the fucking blue plate special, like, fucking hero cop, or do I want to, you know, live my life on my terms? Vai con Dios, bro. Like,
I mean, that kind of brings us back to Roy, where he's a bad dude, he's a likable guy, but then he kind of goes straight at the end. Gets fucked over, which when you're watching it, you're like, okay, I mean, he's a bad dude. He kind of deserves to get fucked over because that's what he's done to other people. But you're still happy for him.
The old couple at the beginning, like he's wronged a lot of people, and and he's also very lonely. What's he gonna do with all that fucking money anyway?
Yeah.
It's like,
he thinks it's
what did he really lose? What did he really lose? You can say by losing, he gained something.
But I mean, you can go back and forth so many times where. You know, he's a bad dude, but you like him. You're okay with watching him lose. But then when he's happy, you're happy for him again. Like, it's an interesting character, to say the least, where...
It is. Because you're like, you see what he lost, too, and you're like, man, you fucking lost, like, so much. Like, not just the money, but, like, to have this emotional investment in Angela and then to find out she's not your fucking kid. Yeah. And you had already made your mind and in your mind that like, all right, I'm a dad now, and this is what I'm going to be about, and this is like this is the man I want to be now, you know. And then also to have your partner of how many years to double cross you, and to be able to understand that like I respect their hustle and they got me. Like he says in the end, he said, "You didn't take my money, I gave it to you." You know what I mean? And he did. He gave her the extra sign in at the bank. Like all the signs were there. He just didn't see them because he was wrapped up in the emotionality of everything. I think it works great for this film, to be honest. Like, I think that's what makes the film so good. It's like, yeah, you're right. Like he loses. He's not the good guy, but at the same time, we're rooting for him. And we're happy at the end that he found some semblance of happiness. He's like, restarting his life. He's finally going to learn, like, live his own life, and it's not going to be, you know, he's not a con man anymore. And
and that's probably why a lot of it's probably why a lot of his tics and OCD stuff went away. It was probably associated with like the stress of living such a shitty, self-loathing life of just stealing money from people.
All the guilt, stealing money, looking over your shoulder constantly.
Yeah.
Although for a guy who's like super paranoid, just keeping your money in a weird bank with a bulldog is kind of odd.
Or a fucking dope ass fucking porcelain bulldog. I thought that thing was rad. I was like, dude.
I like that. Like that's what kind of makes you think that Angela's not like conning him either, because like she finds the money in early on. She doesn't take it.
She plays very innocent and kind of like, oh gee whiz, pretty good. I felt.
Yeah, she really does. I think it's.
I didn't see her turning heel or her twist at all.
I didn't either, because if her goal is to ingratiate herself to him, when she first gets into his house, she just like goes around and starts fucking everything up. You know, you would think that if he's like a real OCD maniac, he would come home and be like, you fucked up my underwear drawer, everything, you know, you touched
going with it.
Yeah.
Like, even going back from that first scene where it zooms in on, like, the two loose fibers on his carpet.
Yeah.
He can't just go pick them up. He's got to, okay, I'm cleaning my entire fucking house. Yeah, like, smoking cigs, like, to go, and, like, the progression from that. And then it's like, dude, a pigsty. And she's, like, laid up on the couch, and there's, like, ice cream on the fucking, I like that growth, like, that you see out of him a lot. But speaking about Keanu too, I found this quote. I saw him on I think it was Stephen Colbert one time. This shit's pretty good.
What do you think happens when we die, Keanu Reeves?
I know that the ones who love us will miss us.
I've seen that before.
That's sweet.
It's cheesy, but he's not wrong.
It is. It's super cheesy, but it's like, like people think he's just some like meathead. It's like, dude, if someone put me on the spot to like, I wouldn't say something as dope or as eloquent as that. Like, fuck, man.
If they ever make a biopic on Keanu Reeves' life, it's going to be very interesting. He's been through some shit. He has every reason to be a bitter fucking prick who has entitlement because of his money and his status, but he's fucking
donates
super zen.
A fuck ton.
He's super
like,
zen.
People don't realize.
Dude, you know that he put a guy through college on The Matrix, I think? Like there was a guy who was working on set in The Matrix who was like not able to finish college. And he was talking about it on set. And then like Keanu secretly just like 20 grand him like the rest of the money or whatever it costs to like do it. He also took a pay cut so that other people on set could make more money.
Yeah, I heard some wild shit on Matrix specifically. That
he donated a lot of that money too.
Yeah, I want to say this might be complete horseshit. I feel like I remember like he did something huge for all the stunt performers because there was a shit ton of stunt people involved in the Matrix. And I feel like he either took a cut of his pay and wanted it diverted to the stunt team.
I think that's what happened.
Or he gave them like $750K or some shit like that. But that's not like a one-off. Like he's done a bunch of things like that throughout his life, and I didn't realize he has got a weird past, like with like he had a wife and she like died in a car wreck or something, and his baby,
and his brother. He lost his brother.
Yeah, and it happened, I think, like in really close proximity. So
yeah,
it kind of like put him on that like Zen kind of like path, and he's never.
That could have sent you into a fucking spiral. You could have hated the world after that, but he didn't.
Yeah,
and I'm amazed by that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's kind of like Richard, our boy from the Coors Light. It's like some of those kind of people in life that have a certain like charisma or thing about them, and they're able to like, transcend or move beyond that with a certain kind of grace or way about them. It's cool to see. It's inspiring.
I think you're right about that with your buddy. I could definitely pick that up from listening to those episodes, and I think that's why those episodes resonate so well with everybody that's listened to them too, because like this dude's just kind of spilling his guts. He's not really afraid to talk about half that stuff, and that's like it's really tough stuff to even talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I mean I always thought like that his life story would be interesting, but I never would have been like with our platform been like, hey, like let's talk about this, or like
I didn't anticipate it being. It was like 4 episodes too, right?
We've done 3 so far.
Oh, okay.
But he was actually like, we were doing the podcast and stuff, and we kind of like bullshitted on the side, like, yeah, we should have you come on and just talk about like your greatest hits, like not even mentioning like the parts of his life that have kind of molded him, like the crazy fucked up shit. And he's like, I want to talk about this, and I was like, hey man, I was like, if you're cool with that. And even I was really nervous going into it because talking about heavy shit like that, it's intense.
Yeah.
And
I love that there are moments where he was like, you're going to cut this out, right? And just like, yeah, of course. And then I'm sitting here on the other end listening to it. So I'm like, he obviously didn't cut it out.
I edit pretty meticulously, and I was like, no, we're leaving it. We're leaving it in.
It's like, can I take a piss and smoke a cig at the same time?
There was a moment where he literally just like, I think got up and didn't even tell you guys. You're just like,
yeah, we didn't know he was gone. And then you hear a slider and like a flick of a bic, and he's like smoking. And then he says something. He like throws his voice. He's like, that was back in like, yeah.
So just back to the film. I really respect that Roy, like at the very end, like he's given the chance to give up Frank. He still doesn't give up Frank.
Yeah.
When he's questioned by, like, he's loyal to the end. even though Frank wasn't necessarily to him. Frank did leave him some money, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't anything really. Like it was a pittance compared to
like a rack,
$1,000 maybe, or 10,000. Maybe.
I thought it was less than that. I thought it was like 100 or 2.
It looked like a stack of hundreds, so I couldn't.
Yeah, I bet he left him a rack. And you say like it had the band that said like "Love Frank" or some shit. Like he's slime fucker.
And I like the scene when he walks out of the hospital, what he thinks is the hospital, and you see it's like this rundown like area, like fucking. What do you call those things? Those like mobile,
like shipping container, like
it was like something like
modular
that.
shit,
like construction sites. Yeah,
it gave me like a weird mini like Rick Grimes coming out of the hospital, Walking Dead vibe for like a half a second.
You're right. And I was super pissed for him when I first saw this too. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
I was actually relieved at that point because I was like, I kind of bought like oh shit, he's about to get fucked over for that dude getting blasted in his living room, like he's gonna be in jail. I thought that's where this was gonna end up, like just.
And I still believed all that too. Like I believe that the heist went, like there was a hitch in the heist, and like him and having to involve his daughter last minute was what kind of like caused it too. Like,
I think that's one of the knocks I have against it is like having that coordinated into your end game plan. Like seemed pretty like on the fly. I mean, maybe that's how it happened, but
so at the end of the day, was that guy in on it also? That guy was in on it as well.
I don't know. What do you think?
That wasn't a real scam. That was just all just a scam to get Roy's money.
He had to be in on it.
He was in on it too, just like the doctor.
They were all characters in on it.
Yeah, I've thought about it quite a bit since this morning when I watched it, and the conclusion I've come to is that guy had to be in on it from the beginning.
Because too much other shit would have had to go right.
Like him knocking out Roy and stuff like that's too many like variables for Frank to have to think about.
Yeah,
obviously, if he was controlling them,
I think Angela even slipped blanks into the gun. If we're going to talk about that, because when she comes back and shoots him, he goes down. Frank's like, he's not going to make it. They go out to the car.
Yeah.
If Frank dies there on the floor, there's no real incentive for him to confess in the hospital, and no one's going to put him in the hospital, obviously, if he comes back in and Chuck is dead.
Yeah.
So, and also when he comes back in and Chuck is gone, there's no blood anywhere on the ground.
No. Yeah, you're right.
So
and he knocks him out and drags him outside.
Yeah. I mean, he must have been in on it from the beginning. That's my thought.
That's a good point.
But I'd be open to
I was going into this
argument.
Not very critical eye. I don't think I was. Yeah. Yeah. I think my opinion then has improved a little bit. I think actually after talking about it a little bit. One term too. Do you guys know what this means that I enjoyed? It was very close after where they discussed the Spearmint Rhino. He's like, I'm ready to go. Long con. Let's do it. And Frank's like, all right, man. And then he's like, we'll pull the Jamaican switch on him.
That's the briefcase.
That's just the brief. I know that's the briefcase swap,
switch
but is that just like a generic term for like, a smoke and mirrors?
I wonder if that's a reference to
dummy,
like
a dummy package ringer, and you're just gonna do a switcheroo.
The ringer, dude.
It's the ringer. Whites.
My whites.
Fucking amateurs, dude.
Fucking Walter, man. Fucked it up, man. Fucked it up.
I love when they're on the phone and he's
Chase, what the fuck were you thinking about here?
When he's like, I'm not going to talk if that guy's still there. He's like, okay. And then he calls back and he's like, amateurs.
Put the gun away, Walter.
The royal we.
So, I don't know. Like, I do love the ending, and just like we already touched on it, but I just do love the interaction with Roy and Angela later, or whatever her real name is. And I just kind of just love that he generally cared for her enough that like he respects her enough to not like chew her out there. And
yeah, I like that progression too,
spot,
where he realized that and like he had an actual like a good send off, and it was like heartfelt. I felt,
and I like that she's like. They have that last exchange where he's like, do you no, she's like, do you not want to know my name? And he says like, I know your name. And she says, okay, Dad. Like,
yeah, it's sweet.
Like I kind of dig it. It's cheesy, but it's like, it's very.
But she
I
left
find this
that
film
like
very
memory
endearing.
intact, like that she like for that period of time, like to keep up the illusion or whatever. It's like so he can look back fondly, like that was Angela, my daughter, in my head, and like because this is what it brought to me, like this is what it did for me. I like how that they kept that intact. It's a good point.
Yeah, I didn't think it was extra like corny or cheesy. I thought it was
they
sweet.
could have played it way.
Well, I could
more
see
fucking
people thinking
cheese-dick.
it made me cheesy. I loved it. Like it totally worked for me.
Yeah,
It
or
is
just
sweet.
that moment when he's talking to the boyfriend and she comes around the corner. I don't know. I'm sure you guys have had those moments where you're either her or him, where you're like, oh fuck, there's no way I'm getting out of this.
Are you or are you not the Black Angel of Death?
Yeah. And even that scene was
And you
super
like hit eyes and then you try to avert and be like, fuck, did they see me?
Well, that's what she does. She doesn't even look at him for like the entire first scene when they first see each other. She's like looking down.
Yeah.
And he's like, you could get it really good for a good price. Cash.
Cash, it's 20% off. Piss
I love that he's
blood.
like a carpet salesman too. It's like such a mundane like job, but it's like whatever.
It
man.
brought
He's
me
found
right
his
back to him
happiness. Like,
zooming in on his fucking carpet, man. Like,
it's not about you know what? I didn't even think about that. Like he is.
I didn't either.
He knows fucking carpet, right?
yeah.
He does know
He's a
carpet
fucking
really well.
carpet freak, man.
So he'll know, like, oh, this is the good carpet. This is like really tight woven carpet. It'll be good for stains and dog hair and stuff like
This
that.
is that good shit with that Scotch guard.
If you could go, if you want to go an extra layer deep, because he's carpet OCD, but the department he's in is remnants, which I think is like cutoffs and piece of shit, like leftovers,
offcuts.
So that could be an indication of his OCD has gone away even more because now he can deal with like shitty
Able to tell the
cut
grass,
ends of whatever. But
and he can still use that charm of being.
Go ahead, play it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the bump.
Symbology?
You must mean symbolism.
No, yeah, but like taking the rough cuts, the pack of strays, the bad news bears, and making it something new.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What is it? It wasn't the treasure. It was the friends that we made along the way.
Yeah, it's the friends all along. Hashtag Miles.
Yep.
Friend of the show.
Shout out Miles. Miles B. Treasure.
So yeah, I did like the scam that they were running with too. Chuck, I forgot the actor who plays Chuck, but he's really good.
Bruce McGill.
Yeah, he's been in so many things.
He was in. I think most people recognize him from Animal House. I can't remember the character's name he played.
Yeah,
that big
that's right. He's super young there.
That mustache. Yeah, he's super young. He was also in Black Sheep.
I get the sense of him like he reminds me of one of my friend's dads. Like where like he's that dad who's like you're in the basement having the sleepover, and he's like, if I gotta come down there one more fucking time,
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's 3 a.m. I can hear you guys upstairs. Turn off the fucking lights and go to bed.
Yeah.
You're having that sleepover where you're like everybody's giggling and shit.
Yeah.
He's really good at that, like the way his tone changes. You know, when he gets mad later. One touch I do like about this film too. I just think it's I like that it ends on Sinatra, and I just think it has a lot of good needle drops too. In general, it has a really good soundtrack and score.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
There's a cool sense to it. I don't know if I get a little bit of like a California vibe too from it, but I don't know if that's just I've never been in California, so I don't
like
know
a LA light.
Yeah.
Maybe like the
With
outskirts.
some of the music.
Like
there's a Beastie Boys
Petaluma
drop
or
later.
Pasadena, maybe Altadena.
I mean, personally, I hate Frank Sinatra, but I did like the soundtrack of the movie. I feel like it
Come
it
fly with me.
I hate him. I hate him so much.
Dude, my wife hates fucking Sinatra too. That's so fucking funny.
She is correct.
Old blue eyes.
He's not skilled. Anyway,
I found out a lot of shit. He was a piece of shit, dude.
Yeah, he was.
No shit. But I did like the I'm a big Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass.
Oh
fan.
yeah, dude, that immediately triggered me. The fucking Tijuana Brass. Fuck yeah,
big fan
dude.
of the Tijuana Brass.
Me and Steve used to work together in a warehouse, and one of our fellow coworkers brought in a fucking, I don't know if it was a CD or if he had just a dope ass Herb Alpert playlist.
I don't remember either.
I feel like
I've got that shit on
seeing
vinyl.
like liner notes.
It sounds so good on vinyl. Yep.
Clean as shit, I bet. Yeah. Dude, Tijuana Taxi is a fucking banger. Man. Yeah, I remember when that came on, and it was like this weird juxtaposition in between the shit we would play. Like fucking heavy, like metal screamo to like hardcore rap hip hop, and then we'd insert a little Herb Alpert in the Tijuana Brass. For
Jim,
an
what's
hour.
that one song you brought out where you were fucking with Steve that you used to play? What was it, Barry White or something? Or no?
No. It was Isaac Hayes. It was hyper.
Hayes.
The song is like hypersyllabic.
That's not Isaac Hayes.
There was a moment when the last time I came on your show.
It's Chef. It's
Isaac
Hayes.
Isn't it?
I think it's Isaac Hayes.
The modus operandi.
Oh yeah, there was a moment I think that when I listened back. Yeah.
Is that it, or was it
modus operandi?
What's that shitty rap group that it sounds like Andre the Giant?
Wig Splitters.
Yeah, your weird Juggalo shit that you listen to.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The one with the Madonna sample of what's that song called? I can't remember the name of the Madonna song, but they heavily sample a Madonna song that I used to play, much to Steve's chagrin. Like I would set it on a playlist. I would set it on a playlist and be like, okay, this is the third song. I'd stop where I was in the warehouse and I would fucking look and I'd zero in on him just to see his reaction from afar, because it was literally within 3 seconds of the beginning of that song playing, without fail. It would be like, look up to the sky and drop your hands to your thighs like, oh, fuck. Something like that. Shit, fucking asshole. Something like
name that
like,
tune. I could figure it out within 2 beats. Like, oh, fuck. Here we go.
0 seconds. More force to feel, more force to feel.
Yeah, there was actually one moment. I don't know if we've mentioned this before, where Jim had like an iPod Mini, which had like 100 of the most annoying fucking songs on it that he would just play over and over, maybe in a different order, maybe not.
I still have it right here.
Damn, bro. I think this should be in a museum.
And at one point, I offered to buy it from him. Like, can I just have that to destroy it? And do you remember the dollar amount?
I thought about it. I think it was $30 or $35.
It was $30. And I was like,
fuck yeah, I could buy a half sack with that. That's fine.
But that wouldn't give you the same pleasure that
I think we got paid like 2 days. We got paid like 2 days later. I was like, nah, I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah.
What'd you do in the warehouse? You worked like on the floor, or
fulfillment, unloading trucks.
Yeah, kind of anything you can think of.
When I was young,
ripping open cardboard boxes, shipping them, reboxing shit.
Shipping, receiving.
Kitchens and baths.
Yeah,
it was a receiver.
It was good times.
We would unload. The trucks would come in. We'd unload. Like since I'm a smaller guy and I could climb pretty well, I would like always go into the back of the truck and I could climb over shit and kind of start pushing it forward for everybody and getting it loose.
Those people are key for sure.
And then everything checks in. You roll it down, and then we would put everything in its bay, and then we would, after that was done. The morning part would be like clearing the trucks. And then after that, then we would it was consumers, kitchens, and baths. So we would put together the orders. So we'd get those large plastic pallets, put them down and start putting the order together and shrink wrapping it. So it was all in one pallet and ready to go for shipping.
Yep.
And then there was like miscellaneous shit. And I remember when there were moments of like lull during that job where we just had to look busy. So we would hide sometimes. And there'd be like a group of us hiding, and there were these like little makeshift areas that like receivers and shipping guys and pickers would make in between pallets, and like because you're in a warehouse with all these huge racks, and there's like moments where like if you move things around a certain way, you'd create a pocket of space where like 4 guys could get and fuck around and play cards or like.
We used to find people asleep in those holes, and those guys got fired immediately.
So we would do that out of necessity and receiving because it would be a slower day, and there were certain jobs that they would give you to do that sucked if you got caught not doing anything. So we'd be like, well, I'm just going to be in the back. I'm going to go help Scott, the forklift driver, like pick some things or whatever. And you'd find we would put a pallet down, one of those plastic ones with the little boot, like the feeding. And it was like a pocket. And we would take like the shipping tape and we would play a game where we had to like, you had to get it into one of the pockets. It was almost like skee ball or like tic-tac-toe. We would play like sort of like you have to roll the tape and get it in there. It was like super dumb.
What's the standard pallet size you guys were working with?
Oh, man. This is like one of my first jobs, bro. I don't even remember. So we had the plastic ones, like the big plastic ones with those weird, like, you know, like the feet sort of.
Yeah,
and then we had,
like
you know, your
shitty
standard,
disposable ones almost.
Then we had your standard, like, just wooden pallets that most of the shipping stuff would come in on.
48 by 40 is what it sounds like.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Yeah, like a full square pallet, not like a halfy.
Yeah, full square.
Or like a Euro, like a long, extra long, weird one.
Yeah. I didn't have my forklift license at the time, but I had like one of those low lift pallet jacks.
Like a power pallet jack?
On. Yeah. And those things were dangerous because they could scoot around.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember it took one of our lankier gentlemen that we had on with us, took him when we first got him, kind of took him for a fucking ride.
Yeah, because you have, and then you know the safety videos would be like you got to beep the horn every time you come around the corner.
Clayton.
And there was one time where I almost forgot to beep the horn, and I came around the corner. There was a forklift with its forks up, which you shouldn't do either.
Nope.
And like I almost ran my face into a fucking forklift. Like
that's not no bueno.
Like all those safety protocols are there for a reason.
Yeah, totally.
I always felt like a jerk just beeping the horn all the time because like anytime you go past an aisle, you gotta like beep 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 beep. So you're excessively doing it.
That got so ingrained in my brain. I remember that like the smoke alarm in my apartment chirped all the time,
and it sounded like it.
I think someone complained about that. I used to talk to someone, and they'd be like,
"That's me."
Someone would come over. Was that you? Like, change your fucking batteries in your smoke alarm. I'm like, what are you? I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, this came up because you and I were on like a Zoom meeting together at work.
Oh, okay.
And there was, you know, like the Brady Bunch set up where it's a grid with all these people. And I could just hear the chirp, and it was driving me fucking nuts. And so I texted Jim, and I was like, is that fucking you? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I have headphones in, but it might be me. And let me check. And then he's like, yeah, but there were like 20 people in this meeting and nobody said anything, but every 32 and a half seconds it would chirp.
Yeah.
And so I stopped listening to everything and I was just watching the clock like, yeah, there it is. Yep. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm with you, man, Steve. I used to listen to a podcast that a buddy of mine was on. And I was like, you know that I would hear this noise every once in a while in the background.
Oh my God.
It's a weird chirp. And I knew I was like, someone's smoke alarm needs to have the battery changed. What the fuck is going on? Every episode I heard it. And I'm like,
how do you live with that?
My buddy, I'm like, I'm like, dude, do you not realize like how annoying that is? I don't want to be like a fucking dick, but like, you know, when you make a podcast, that's the number one thing people criticize, right? Is like audio.
Well, yeah,
quality
if it were a
like
podcast, that would come through on like the editing and stuff.
That's all I heard every time I'm trying to listen to this conversation. I hear cheep 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 cheep, and I'm like,
I edit out even like
battery,
the noise that Steve's ice in his fucking mug just made. I edit that stuff out. So yeah,
I've been trying to mute my mic.
It's all good.
I always hear that noise, and it didn't bother me. But I've asked Jim like, what is? I need to see this cup that you're using. And then he was like, it's actually not me, it's Steve. I was like, no way.
Wrong.
I didn't think it was
Most
Steve.
of the time it's Jim now. I mute my shit.
Sometimes it is me.
Yep.
Oh, you have a similar thing? Okay.
Yeah.
It's just all a metal flask kind of thing.
I'm like, when you said it was Steve, I'm like, oh, Steve's like an ice guy. He likes that. He likes to have a lot of ice in his drink.
You're a moon guy.
That. Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, I had one more warehouse note, but I forgot what it was. It's not important.
I remember way back in the day, there was certain top racks that someone would leave a pipe with marijuana in, and other rack spaces that were used as like a cot, like someone could sleep in.
Hiding
like
on those
3 or 4
racks is
racks
risky
high.
because you need a cherry picker to help you get down if like management's looking for you.
So, most of our guys, and I'm a big guy too, and I've gotten pretty high, but we used to fucking climb them like monkeys, like without lifts, like idiots.
I mean,
it was a long time, I think, till we got our first bucket, and even when we had one or like a little like a deck that you could get elevated on like a human, we would still kind of the lines were.
I mean,
gray.
we would.
I remember what it was.
We would have to climb the rack, or also we would stand on the forks of the big lift, and it would bring you all the way up, and then you'd have to jump off and then jump back on.
A lot of times when we were checking pallets, like looking for different stuff or like pieces that were like mixed or bundled up, and they were older and they had to go out finally, because sometimes you get these orders that come in and then they sit and they don't go out for a while until the kitchen's
they don't
ready to
sell
be done.
like they're supposed to. Yeah, and
they
get put in a funky fucking spot.
Yeah, and so we would do that. We'd put a pallet on the forklift, and I would stand on the pallet, and then the forklift would raise me like 20 feet in the air.
Yeah,
it was kind of scary. And then I'd have to like double check with the scanner gun on like the barcode of the. And they'd be like, "Oh, just it was just it was an interesting job at the time. It was fun."
We had an overflow for a while of like extra containers like outside, like we didn't have enough room on the inside, and sometimes you get one of these orders that call for like an old SKU, and you'd have to go into this container outside in the summertime, and you'd have to pull out like 10 pallets with a picker, like a metal clamp that you would attach to the wood pallet to pull it out, and then go in just for like 2 boxes or like a half a pallet, and then load the fucker back up. That kind of stuff was the worst.
You ever step into a pallet by accident? You step between the grooves of it, and you twist your fucking ankle on those fucking things?
I never did, but we've had quite a bit of people have issues with like getting something through the shin, like a big ass splinter, or just cracking pallets.
We used to take the pallet jacks and we'd race them. So like you could turn them a certain way. If you start turning it, and
if you ride it, you flip it around, and you ride it like you're on a
sneaking around. You could like fucking ride that sucker.
Yeah, if you
it's
flip
like
it
a
around,
big ass
you can ride it like a scooter.
Yeah, it's like a big ass double wide razor.
Yeah, and you just going like, it was before razors were even a thing.
Oh yeah,
and you would like go like this with the fucking the wheel or whatever you want to call it, the little.
Yeah, that shit was a lot of fun. Once we got a powered pallet jack, one of our mutual acquaintances, friends, Clayton, was like, he was this tall, lanky motherfucker that probably weighed like 140 pounds, soaking wet, and he was like 6'3". And like the first time like you engaged the power on this thing, I swear, dude, I saw him. He looked like a piece of spaghetti, just going left, right, whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah, so you weren't there when we got a demo of a stand-on electric pallet jack.
The kind that you can ride. Oh, man.
That's the one that I had a license to run.
So we had it for about 11 seconds before I let Jimmy hop on, who he also no longer worked in the warehouse, but he had been out there for so long. He's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll hop on, see how it goes. And he almost drove this thing into a rack, like taking out the corner of it. And it was like a wobble, like, oh, fuck. And then he bailed out because the throttle was so sensitive compared to the electric pallet jack we had. When it started to wobble, he just nerfed it all the way back. Yeah. And then just
like a dirt bike.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so he did the dirt bike handle wobble. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. And then he like turned around, looked, and was like, I'm fucking done.
I haven't heard that. I'm gonna have to grow him on that.
It's got that bar that like you shift left or right to, and so you're doing that, and you're fucking throttling it, and you got to lean into a little bit too. If you when you get good at it, you know how to like ride it around.
Man, I can't wait to ask him about
that. I can see the first time. There were always like good ones too, where like in the morning, if you had to get there early. when check-in was like you had to sign in, and you sign out the one that you're taking for the day. And like there were certain ones that were like prime. You're like, oh, I want that one. It was like the Mustang of fucking Pallet Jacks. Like
ours is always like a free for all. It's like you get what you get.
Yeah.
Or you just
it was like that too. It was like first come first serve. So.
Gank it from someone. Just like, who took my fucking Pallet Jack? That was the good one.
Watching that dude work for the rest of the day on the shitty one was like funny.
Fuck, that's awesome.
Yeah. So like, did you guys? So Steve, you really like this film?
I did. I liked it a lot. I do have a cunty review.
Yes.
Oh, sweet.
I actually had one for the last episode that Jim and I recorded that I forgot to mention, so I'm a little bummed about that.
Air it now.
Was that for Jennifer 8?
No, it was for Basic Instinct, which has yet to come out, but...
Yeah.
Oh, you guys cover that?
That's a banked episode. We're kind of just keeping it in the background for...
Well, because you talked about the movie.
Yeah.
There's
3 films that are not a trilogy, but that I always put together in my head, and they are Black Rain, Basic Instinct, and Jade with David Caruso and Linda Fiorentino.
Okay, I thought you were going to say what was that other one that
be like David Caruso and Jade.
I know exactly what you mean.
Caruso. He's a horrible actor. I'm sorry.
He is. He's
it's one of the things we touched on when we covered Session 9, which is a banger of a movie, but like he's so bad in it.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Yeah, fuck you. Anyway, Steve, don't make step on your toes.
No worries. So I've got a cunty review of Matchstick Men, and I think this is a big moment for the show. I think this is the first repeat cunty reviewer. No. I think so.
Oh, we got a repeat offender?
I think
That's
so.
Awesome.
I'm not sure, but somebody can fact check me. I'm almost positive. This review came from David Edelstein from Slate, which I am almost positive we have read.
I think you've said that name before.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to check the archives.
So his review is short, shitty, and sweet. He says, it's a blah little exploitation picture that thinks it's a deep humanist parable. Fuck you,
I don't
David.
like him using the word parable and exploitation. Go die.
I mean, every word is infuriating. It's a blah little exploitation picture that thinks it's a deep humanist parable. What does that mean?
I
don't. I don't get any. What?
No.
I don't really get what he's trying to say.
I don't either, and I don't like it. So.
Yeah. It just sounds like he's just trying to sound smarter than he really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
If I combine these 3 things, parable, blah.
I really don't like the fucking
exploitation of what?
Usage of the word.
Yeah, what exactly?
That's so arrogant.
I don't get.
That's screw off.
A guy like that should be dragged out to the street and beaten until he pisses blood.
Yeah.
Dude, I was not expecting that like knee jerk piss blood.
Yeah,
I love it. And he's just like beelining around the fucking store. Like he goes from line to line, just cutting each line.
Yeah, I love that. Pills. He's like, sir, these aren't aisle 4. It's like, oh fuck, this is for menopause medicine.
No.
What was it?
No. They're not. My doctor gave them to me.
Yeah. All right. I was looking at some of the trivia of this, and it's fucking really
not interesting.
Thin, so no, not really interesting at all. So I won't lead into that.
How about a couple Cage quotes?
I do have a couple, and one is like just really oddball, and it's like not poignant at all. I just thought it was funny.
We were talking about Nic Cage and his son, who's in a like death metal band.
Yeah,
this guy.
Oh my god!
Holy shit!
He looks like the fucking thing that comes out of TV in The Ring.
Holy
Look
shit!
At him. He looks like Samara.
There's a Facebook page.
It means you'll be psychically attacked.
Look at that proud daddy.
Yeah.
Is that also his
They definitely
son?
look like the father-son combo that has gotten high together before. You know, like that proud moment of like, my dad smoked the J with me, and then we did a line. That's definitely the combo right there.
Like he came home and he was doing crystal meth, and he's like, crystal meth, is that okay?
And then Nicolas Cage was like, "Yeah, but take your shoes off."
Yeah.
All right. So here's one from a Nicolas Cage devotional. I think a loose one was like Cage's canon, or the canon of Cage.
Yeah.
Here we go.
You can't be great unless you know you're great. Go in and be great like you know you're great. And you are precious because what you have to offer them is precious. Whether they get it or not doesn't matter. You're precious.
Damn.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, the content aside, he looks very handsome. Like, he's aged very well.
Yeah, I don't know how old he is right here, because I've seen some more recent ones where I think the age is on him. Like, it was like interviews after he did The Unbearable Weight of Nicolas Cage. Is that the name of the film?
Massive Talent or something like that.
Yeah, The Unbearable Weight.
Yeah, he plays Nicolas Cage. I heard it's really good.
Yeah, he plays himself in like a weird quasi biopic, but it's fake also, because he's like involved with with Pedro Pascal, who plays like a drug lord or something, and he wants to be friends with him. But I haven't seen it yet. I really want to, really badly, but that just came out like a year ago, and some of the press for that, like you can see the age on him a little bit more. Like, he's aged a bit more than this one that we just listened to with him with the beard. But here's another
he's
one.
He's like a fine wine, you know. He gets better with age.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean,
like this one, you can see the age on him.
And look how handsome he is. Jesus.
This one's really funny.
I respect that.
Let's see. Look at this one. He's a little bit more.
Not bad.
He looks a little.
That's not a good starting image. I'll tell you that.
No, it's just a weird angle. But yeah, this one is just like abstract out of the blue that I just thought was funny. And for people listening, he is wearing like a smoking jacket, or like, you know, a nice sport coat, but it's like crazy, like tartan fucking plaid, like red, yellow, greens. Like he looks Scottish as fuck right now. Like he's wearing a
smoking jacket you wear on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Look at his neck. His face looks really young, but his neck looks old as shit.
Yeah. Here, check him out.
Yeah.
Well, I really like shortbread, and whenever I'm in England, I go get a tin can of shortbread, and I was feeling kind of happy, kind of like I was biting into some shortbread. So tonight I wanted to dress like I was a can of shortbread.
Jesus.
Dude,
he just goes with the flow, man.
His laugh at the end fucking just kills me. I wanted to dress like a tin of shortbread. It's like, dude.
Well, he achieved that, it looks like to me.
Yeah. Nailed it.
I got a couple I wrote down, too.
Yeah.
Some of the ones that I sent you. I don't know whether these are actual just quotes of his own or like lines from roles that he's played. Who knows? I'm
going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
Heartfelt one. He's got one that says, I think what makes people fascinating is conflict. It's drama. It's the human condition. Nobody wants to watch perfection. I can see that being like something that he would actually say. But this one,
that's
a little odd. I am not a demon. I am a lizard, a shark, a heat-seeking panther. I want to be Bob Denver on acid playing the accordion. I have no idea what that means.
Cocaine. That's what that means.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then there's another one. My father once said, in quotes, if you're in the desert and you're dying of thirst, are you going to drink a glass of blood or are you going to drink a glass of water? I think what he was trying to say, interesting coming from my blood father, is sometimes there are people in your family that can be toxic. I don't know. I didn't get that, but I get the sentiment that, you know, he implies at the end. Like, I totally understand that. Like, but I don't.
That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I guess if you're, if you're thirsty, I think that's
going against the grain of like the blood is thicker than water, kind of.
Yeah, in your life, you're looking for a drink to quench your thirst in your time of need. That blood can not necessarily be the drink of choice, maybe.
Dude, that kind of ties back to Matchstick Men, because Angela's not his real blood, but look at what happened by their coming together. Like And same goes for, like
and I totally meant that to tie into the movie when I said it. I totally did.
Yeah, totally. Well, no, it's fuck synchronicity, man. It's interesting how that works sometimes. You're talking about stuff, and it's like a melange of things that come.
Melange, that's our thing.
I'm paying homage to the melange, but like, there's tons of people that like I'm one of them too. Like that had like a stepfather or even like I remember in my formative years I had a cousin like there wasn't a distant cousin, but I had a big family, so I had like fucking 30 cousins, so I didn't know all of them really well, but there's one kind of like that I didn't know very well that came into my life for like a 2 or 3 year period that was huge, but like there's it like you meet a lot of people like growing up and it's not always like the family that's the strongest or that's going to impart like the most important life lessons. So I guess that's out of that funky ass quote with the blood and the water and all that, what I kind of pulled from that a little bit.
If Dominic Toretto has taught me anything, it's that family is not just blood related.
It's Corona related.
Yes.
It's about family.
Hashtag family.
Yeah, I don't have any more interesting Cageisms. Do you have any or any favorite quotes? Either of you guys, or any final thoughts or anything about Matchstick Men that you guys want to cover? Or
I just think it's a charming film. I recommend it to people. I haven't seen it in a long time until we decided to do it for your cast, and I watched it, and I was just it still was a good watch to me. I knew the swerves that were coming, but still, I thought it was. I never watched it with a critical eye, but I enjoy it.
I like it too. I would recommend it.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend it, but I wouldn't admonish anyone from checking it out.
I think the characters are all really, really good. Like I know, like Sam Rockwell's character Frank is not like the biggest. I don't know. I guess like he doesn't have a lot of variety in the movie.
His character didn't really stand out to me.
He's just a smartass, like that's a role that Sam Rockwell just fucking masters. Like he knows how to. He could just come in and do that shit any day.
Right, and I think that goes back to like I felt like he was playing this character kind of in his sleep a little bit.
I kind of wonder like if some of the scenes that we're watching may have been improv too, like where he was just trying to make Nicolas Cage laugh or something.
Yeah,
too. Like
I kind of thought the same thing. Just like leaving him voicemails, trying to get him to.
Yeah, the voicemail scene in particular.
I do know about
saying things.
It seemed like
funny.
Like a non-meth addict Jesse Pinkman.
I did like that kind of montage like throughout the day of him just like staying on him, like pick it up,
still calling,
pick it up now, and then he's like out, like he's hitting a couple golf balls, and like
and he's like, all right, I'm coming over.
Yeah, he knows like this is my entire day, like, but he still does it. But yeah, I don't know. I was expecting a little bit more out of his character because I liked him a lot in like Galaxy Quest, Hitchhiker's Guide. I like him.
Moon?
Yes, I like him a lot in Moon, and I like him a lot in Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Yeah, he's really good in that.
He's fucking awesome in that. So yeah, I don't know. He falls a little flat for me.
I like him in this, but it's definitely Cage's film. Yeah. And I think the relationship between Cage and Angela is what takes a precedent in the film. Like that's why Sam Rockwell's character kind of plays the background, and because he's running the scam the whole time, so he's kind of like maneuvering everything. We get to focus on. I think that's the bread and butter is the relationship between Angela and Cage, and I just think this is the kind of film where like if people are like, oh, I'm not really into Nicolas Cage, I would recommend this film. That would
he doesn't really cage it up.
Yeah.
Really,
but he does enough.
To me, outside of that piss blood scene, that's the only like really Cage-esque like hit you in the gut. I mean, he has a couple little picadillos that you could pick out as little Cageisms, but that's like the overriding one. Yeah,
just and a couple pygmies.
They don't exploit it and like overplay it. I feel like. Dude, I'll say this too. Or I'm curious, Steve, have you seen Mandy at all or are aware of what that is?
Nope.
From 2018?
That's not a film I could see Steve just like seeking out. You know what I mean? Like,
No, but I'd be really curious to see what you think of it. You should watch it. You should watch the trailer if you get a chance. That might be one we have to.
it's a good watch.
Talk
There's a
about.
lot of style to that film.
Yeah.
There's substance too, in my opinion. But it's definitely one of those films that like the style. It might stand out a little bit more than the substance at first when you first watch it. It's a slow burn.
It's like slow yet like intensely fucking like.
It's very impactful to me.
Crazy.
I thought it was a very good film.
I'm down to watch it. I just wouldn't want to watch any preview or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think you should probably.
No, okay.
Yeah.
I remember I watched one trailer for it and I was like, I am watching that film. Like
Yeah?
I need to see that film. Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. When
Okay.
they show that axe thing or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like,
and
what is
that was really the first like
I like the
movie
style.
that kicked off his like second Cage renaissance, because now he's ever since
Cage
that
is
point
now?
he's crept back into more movies that aren't like straight to streaming or straight to DVD, because for like I don't know, it's got to be like a 10 to 15 year period between like Ghost Rider right around there, like 2006 2007. He goes on an epic fucking string of like from 2007 to 2018.
Yeah, well, he's trying to pay back his dets and like the money he owes for buying dinosaur fossils and shit like that.
But I'm saying it is like like I know a lot of people knock like he's like doing this because he's just doing to make fast buck, and like it's not about the art at this point. But like that aside, like the prolific like sheer volume of shit that he was in for like a 10 to 12 year period around there is insanity. And then it comes back to he gets cast in this indie film Mandy, but it's got like a real prestigious director, and he's got a really funky style, and it kind of put him back on this track of like it's a second like renaissance of like playing up the Cage
Je ne sais quoi
reputation, I guess.
I like that role for
honestly,
him a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm digging it.
He flexes his range in that as well too. There's emotional scenes in that movie, quiet scenes, and then there's like loud, violent,
intense,
or like
crazy,
just like abrupt, energetic, like emotional scenes too. And I feel like that's a good role for. I think it's a perfect role for him, to be honest, and that's why.
Yeah, it was like tailor made.
Off that, yeah, and he's also leaned into the horror genre in a big way since then.
Yeah,
or like right around that time, he did with Mom and Dad. He did that. He did Color Out of Space, which I thought was fucking dope.
Yep, he did
like,
that Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah, which I haven't seen. I heard it's mixed, but I'd watch it one day.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. But
still, like I get it. It's like one of those films where like it's a weird film because like you're hiring Nicolas Cage and then you're not giving him what
he doesn't speak in the fucking film. It's terrible. Don't watch it. Nobody watched that film. Fuck that film.
He's also going to be in Renfield.
That looks really cool, man.
There's got to be some Vampire's Kiss like references like peppered in there.
Yeah, that'd be fun if they had like a scene of him running down the street.
I'm a vampire.
I'm a vampire.
But yeah, I'm a fan of Nicolas Cage for all his faults and stuff. You know.
Yeah, he's cool.
He does some whack films here and there, but he's also been in some bangers.
Yeah, he's had quite the career, that's for sure. All right, well, I think that'll do it for us for Matchstick Men. I'm glad we covered it, and I feel like even though it has the star power of Nic Cage and being directed by Ridley Scott, this is one that not a lot of people talk about, and it's kind of just faded into obscurity. Especially given like the people who put it out, like their prolific careers, it's easy to get lost in that shuffle of so much shit that they've done. Ridley Scott, Nic Cage, namely. But yeah, I think my opinion has softened a little bit after talking about it. And even previous to that too, it wasn't something that I hate. It didn't particularly grab me on this watch. But anyway, if you guys have questions or thoughts about Matchstick Men or anything else, you can reach out to us via email at waxingtheporpoise.com or either of our socials. Instagram is Waxing the Porpoise, and Twitter is at Waxing the Porp. We don't have any new reviews or anything like that. I was gonna do a fucking pod roundup, but I'm fucking lazy.
Yo, bro, I don't know if you saw my message, but man, I respected the shit out of that pod roundup you did like a couple episodes ago. That's a really cool idea actually to do. I think it's something that would be good for like all our smaller podcasts to just do and kind of like shed some light on each other. Like you said, we're not a network, but we are a network in a sense that like we're friends and we keep in touch and we have each other, we collabo.
Yeah, it's like a loose and unofficial,
and we're all up and coming
assemblage.
Yeah, and I loved just like you were just pointing out some of the cool episodes that people were putting out. Cinema Villains, us, fucking Ghoulish, like everybody. Bean Dub, you even get Tyler Nightmare in there. You got his Cinema Punks in there. Anna's podcast, Cinema Slab.
Yeah, hey, I think we could actually run through it real quick here in like 2 minutes. What's her new podcast called?
It's called Cinema Slab. It's Anna and Hannah. They do a podcast together. They're fans of horror. They met through that, and they've had a bond since then. They have Hannah's brother, sometimes Hunter, on as well. I recently went on their show, and we reviewed episode 1 through 3 of not really reviewed, but we talked about episode 1 through 3 of The Last of Us.
Oh, nice.
They're mainly doing horror right now, but it's all about cinema in general. So I'm sure they're going to do some other films that aren't horror specific, but they have a great show. They have a great vibe and chemistry, and it'll just grow from there. You can tell already, just like this show. Just like all the shows that we're all fans of.
Word. Yeah, I wanted to include her too, and I'll run through a couple that are top of mind. I know you guys just did one with Logan from Ghoulish Uni came on to A Cut Above. You guys' most recent episode 85 was Revenge, which I still haven't seen, and I haven't listened to that episode because I've been meaning to see it for a few years.
Yeah, I recommend the film, man.
Who's that? Julie Ducournau? Is that her name? The director? Or is she the star?
Coralie Fargat.
Oh, okay.
You're thinking of the director of Raw.
Oh, Raw. That's right. That's up in my brain too.
Yeah, she's another French director, writer. This woman's French also. It's part of our Women in Horror Month on A Cut Above. It's the second film we've done this month for Women in Horror Month, and it was an awesome discussion. It's Logan's first time coming on, and she was great. I talk to her every day on Slack, and I listen to Ghoulish University. But to have her on Cut Above, she's been a supporter of ours since we launched, and I really appreciate that. And I just thought like this was a film like she kind of like as soon as I mentioned it that it might be a film we're covering, she's like, "Oh, if you want to guess, I'd love to talk about it." And I'm like, "How do I say no to that? Like, come on, come and talk about it." And
that's the best.
You brought it full circle because she was like, "Man, one of the first conversations I remember having with you and anybody in Slack was like, someone mentioned rape revenge films, which are tough watches, and they, I get it triggers things." And she was like, "I don't see a reason that rape should ever be in a movie." Like, and she's since like stepped back from that stance, but I understand where she's coming from too. Like, it is a tough thing to see, and I don't think it should be exploited in every film, but it's powerful. It's a powerful motivator for a protagonist, and
when it's done,
some sense of
when it's used right, or
there's
like with a certain kind of decorum, I guess.
Yeah, you get so satisfied. There's such a I don't know, man. To see someone, especially a powerful female, like take back what was taken from them, or just get that sweet revenge. It doesn't fix everything, but to see that moment, and it doesn't have to involve rape, but a lot of them do, unfortunately. I mean, I'm okay with it, but I don't think it should be like a trope that everybody like uses all the time for revenge films. But we discussed that in the episode. It was a good conversation.
Kill Bill Volume 2.
Yeah, exactly. That we mentioned that.
Oh, it's so
which is a
good.
revenge film, but it also does have rape. Like she's raped in that as well, right? When she's in a coma.
Yeah. My name's
Buck,
and I'm here.
That part's pretty brutal too. If you like,
but he brings a little bit of a levity to that subject with that film, and also his it's an homage to other films that he blends it with the kung fu and the spaghetti western.
Right.
So it's not just a rape revenge film.
Right.
So yeah, you kind of forget that is its main drive though. It's like she's been wronged, and yes, she was raped also when she was in a coma.
Yeah, that one, it's like that's not the focal point because there's so much wild shit
Yeah.
swirling
But
around
when she's
in those
bashing
two
that
films.
dude's head in the door, so awesome. So
I love
fucking
that
awesome.
film, man.
It is so
I saw
good.
Kill Bill like 3 times in the theater.
Yeah.
It was unlike anything I've ever seen.
Yep.
Yeah, they're fucking good, man. Those are good ones to flash back. Like, you forget about how good they are when you
Underrated.
like rewatch them. It's like, fuck.
I'm
Yeah,
thinking
it's like,
about
I gotta
rewatching
watch
them.
part 2 immediately right now.
I like part 2. A lot of people always they mention part 1. Part 1's great. They're both great.
Yeah.
I like part 2 also. I like
part 2
I gotta think
better.
of them as just one film. Like, I could never, if I watched the first one.
Yeah, that's how I think about it.
I feel like I couldn't wait more than like a day to like, all right, we gotta complete it. Like, I watched half of a movie, but yeah. So yeah, that's your guys' newest episode. You want to tell? We lead this one right into the plug for you guys. Where can people find A Cut Above?
Oh yeah, so we're a Cut Above Horror Review. It's 3 of us, John, Jacqueline, and Hydraberg. We host every week a horror movie review show podcast. It's just a fun. If you just want to hear like a fun podcast of like 3 friends like developing a friendship over time, like we're going to be hitting 100 episodes in May, so we're getting
That's
there.
awesome.
I'm pretty proud of that, actually. It's still surreal.
So you're almost coming up pretty soon on your 2nd anniversary. Will be in a couple months.
Yeah, we're on episode 86 this Monday where we'll be recording. So yeah, it's
nice.
It's crazy, man. I look forward to it every week. It feels like work sometimes, but every once in a while, like when I finally get down there and we press record and I sit in front of the TV and the computer, it's just me talking with, friends, like your show. You know what I mean? It's just fucking, It's fun,
Yeah.
So,
it's a fun like reason to meet and have something kind of prescriptive, but then you can also go off on tangents and you remember things. And yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I look forward to it every week for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's just us reviewing a movie, but at the same time, like, not to get sentimental, but it's just me, John, and Jacqueline, like, cementing this friendship that we've grown over time. And we've never even met each other in person. So
yeah, it's cool.
It means a lot to me. But yeah, thanks for giving me an avenue to promote it. We're on all the podcast apps, Amazon Music, Spotify, all that, iTunes. We're on Instagram at A Cut Above, one word, .horror_review. And we're on Twitter at Cut Above Horror. And on Facebook at A Cut Above, horror review.
Sweet.
Fuck
yeah. Check out A Cut Above. I just finished your guys' review on Master, which I watched way back when it came out a few months ago. And
what'd you think about that movie?
I thought it was cool. I mean, without getting too deep into it, I feel pretty similar to all of you guys.
Yeah.
Like, it was lacking something, and a couple of the storylines went nowhere. Like, I think is it Judith, the main gal who hangs herself? I was really disappointed.
Jasmine, I think it was.
Jasmine. I was really disappointed with what they did with that, but I think overall it was decent. Like,
it's a first attempt.
Okay,
I think. I think it's like the first directorial debut of that director too. So I think it's admirable.
Yeah. I'd probably leave it there.
It swings pretty hard and it misses a little bit. But
I really liked the scary scene where the fucking red lights come on and she's with the group like that are ostensibly touring the college, and it gets very weird and like surreal.
Dreamlike.
Yeah, that I liked how much that scene freaked me out, and a couple other freak out scenes like with the paintings and the kind of the supernatural weirdness.
Yeah,
and
paintings were really cool. I wish they played on that more. I think the director kind of knows the things that scare you, like bug you out a little bit, and I think the film does a pretty good job on cueing in on some of those things. So I think there's some promise there for that director if she keeps doing more in the genre.
Yeah, especially if that's your first showing. I mean, it was pretty polished, and I think on a story basis, I think I agreed. Like, it could have been like 2 or 3 different movies, and there was too much going on to like bring it back and make it cohesive and as satisfying as I would have wanted.
And I feel like that dilutes the statement it's trying to make a little bit because you get lost in the sauce.
I agree.
There. I also want to recommend you should check out our Identity episode because we had these 2 fine gentlemen on there, and it was a good episode. It's like a doggy style on a Sunday morning almost. One might say if you were gonna rate it.
That was fun. That
was a good time.
I realized that the movie when we started talking about it wasn't like the best film, but I enjoyed the conversation nonetheless. Sometimes the films aren't the best. You pick a bummer sometimes.
Yeah,
a dud. But
sometimes that's like not the focal point though, too. Or like we've had a couple episodes where they've like Steve has been like, nah, I didn't like this, and we had a really good
like
time
the Burbs.
anyway.
I won't hold it against you, Steve.
Like Blade Runner sucks. Speaking of Ridley Scott.
I'm so curious what you would think about 2049 though, because I think that's one of the best films I've watched in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think you'd like it because of your enjoyment of Prisoners, even though it's a way different story. The craft and like because it was directed by the same dude, Denis
I don't
Villeneuve.
think Villeneuve makes a bad film. I don't think I can.
Yeah, I think his only knock is if you were impatient with your viewing, could be like slow.
Prisoners was a banger, and their episode on it was super extensive. Like you guys really broke that film down.
I don't mind.
Brought up a lot of really good points. I don't think so either. And like you brought up a lot of really good points on like, and there's so many different perspectives to put yourself like in their shoes in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think you guys were on the money too about the ending though. Like the whistle, play it like once or twice, and like leave it up to us whether he goes and we know from his character, Gyllenhaal's character, that he's inquisitive enough. Like he's not going to let it go.
Yeah,
like,
right.
So he will find out that Hugh Jackman's there and probably almost frozen to death, but he'll save him in time. Yeah. But you don't have to like really show us walking in that direction or like the third whistle.
Yeah, I thought the third whistle was a bridge too far for me.
Yeah, and it was very quiet though, so like there's probably a lot of audience members that really didn't even pick it up too, because it's played very muffled.
Yeah, I had the fortune of watching it home on streaming, and when they did it, I rewound it 2 or 3 times, and you can definitely pick up the volume picks up on each subsequent whistle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets a little
The
louder.
first one is very faint. The second one's a little bit more. The third one's like, and the way Gyllenhaal reacts and like his head cocks right at the third whistle, I was like, see, that's too much. I don't like that because you're telegraphing instantly like, okay, he knows he's safe.
Yeah, and you're kind of telling us exactly what's going to happen where it's better to leave it ambiguous.
I would have liked a little bit more of Fog of War.
And Steve, I saw that you watched Nightcrawler recently, which was definitely... I thought that was a good film.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah, I thought that was a good Gyllenhaal role. And Bill Paxton's in that. I was all ready to do like a 6 Degrees too of Bill Paxton. If you get.
Oh, you want to lay one down real quick?
Well,
for this film,
when I was on last time, I think the 6th Degree of Bill Paxton was Simple Plan.
Mm-hmm.
Or you had mentioned it one time.
Yeah,
right? Simple Plan with
Billy
Paxton and so. I think in that Jane Fonda's in that film.
Jane Fonda
is she in that?
I don't think she was.
I had this like through line where I thought she was in that, and then she was in that movie with Nicolas Cage where they split the lottery ticket.
You're thinking of Bridget Fonda.
Bridget Fonda is what I meant. Yes, yeah. I'm sorry.
And
I said Jane.
Yes, and she is in A Simple Plan. That's right. Yeah. So her daughter.
Yeah. Bridget Fonda's in that, and then she's in what is it? What is the movie with the lottery ticket? What's it called again? Anything Can Happen or something like that, or
yeah, that sounds right.
I think
it could happen to you.
It could happen to you, yeah.
Yeah.
Where they kind of split. He has a marriage that's not so successful or something like that, or like they split the lottery ticket and they kind of have a budding romance based on that or something like that.
Yep. That's a fun film. That's a fun cheesy early 90s romp. I think it was maybe based partly on a true story too, but
I can see that. There's plenty of people that go in on lottery tickets.
Dude, there's another one. Do you guys ever remember the Nic Cage was in it with James Caan and it might be Bridget Fonda. It was like from 91. It was he played like an Elvis impersonator. Honeymoon in Vegas. That's what it was.
Yeah, that actually, I don't know if that got him a nomination or an Oscar.
That was Sarah Jessica Parker. That's right. Dude, Richard would like this because they had Jerry Tarkanian, the former college basketball coach for Fresno State Bulldogs, had a cameo in Honeymoon in Vegas at the end during they're playing poker, and he sits there and he does his trademark. He bites a towel.
Leaving Las Vegas. Out.
Oh, let me finish a quick roundup too, because we have had some new episodes from like Bean Dubbed was on a little bit of a hiatus. They just came out rapid fire. They released Hackers, and then they just released their first anniversary special. Episode 29
congrats.
just came out, so congrats to them for sure. Ghoulish came out kind of rapid fire since we talked last with like 3 episodes, and now they're on to their recent episode was Tales from the Crypt season 3 episode 1 Love to Death.
I can't believe they're on season 3 already.
Yeah, well, season 1 I think was like a pilot season and only had 5 or 6 episodes. And then they gradually increase. I think like 2 through 4 have like 15 or 18 episodes, and then I think 5 and 6 have like 22 or 24 episodes. So
you guys have been on for what, 3 times? Or
2
twice?
or 3.
Twice.
We went on for like a.
Well, Jim, you were on by yourself for 1 episode, right?
That's right. Yeah,
I can't remember. You guys were on for that movie. What was it?
They did like a Halloween special. They did VHS 2.
VHS 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was like a.
And then you guys were on for another episode recently.
Yep.
Yeah. Then we did
Television Terror.
Yes, with Morton Downey Jr. Fucking toothsome wonder. And then obviously Straight Chilling just came out with a new episode on The Cell, which Hydraberg was actually that was his You Pick the Flick. They do a quarterly like lottery where if you get picked, you can choose a movie that they review, and he picked The Cell with Vincent D'Onofrio, J-Lo, Vince Vaughn. Have you ever seen that one from the year 2000? It's fucking weird. And then I think, who else? We got a couple others here real quick. I know Cinema Villains just did a Valentine's special. Where the fuck? Why can't I find them? Oh, it's probably because I spelled fucking villain wrong. Asshole. Yeah, they just came out with a Valentine's Day special where they covered Valentine from the year 2001. Prominently features Deftones on the soundtrack. Thank you.
Me sobering up. Ow.
I know. What is it?
Yeah, they did TMNT also.
Yeah, they did that. They released those kind of back to back since we talked last too. So I haven't listened to that one yet. I need to. I love the first Ninja Turtle flick. Elias Koteas just fucking kills it. Whoops. Yeah, they just covered that. They covered a couple like rapid fire, and they did Little Shop of Horrors, and then their recent episode they just put out was on Weird, the Al Yankovic story with starring Harry Potter himself, Daniel Radcliffe with a fucking fro.
Yeah, I heard it was funny.
I've heard some wild shit about it. I thought they were doing like a straight biopic, but I guess it devolved very quickly into like a wild fucking
Which kind of makes sense on who it's like riffing on, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm a huge fan of UHF, and I've heard it compared favorably to UHF, so I definitely want to check it out.
UHF was like a huge flop when it came out too,
dude. Yeah, but it's
a cult classic.
I think it's great, man. It's a lot of fun.
Never seen it.
Yeah, it's pretty obscure. Michael Richards, Kramer's in it, plays a weirdo.
Big surprise.
Yeah. Shocker. Seems like a real stretch for him.
Alrighty. Is there any other pods I missed?
I'm trying to think of who's
Ghoulish Punks, Cinema Villains, Straight Chillin', you guys, us.
You got, I don't know, Plug It Up. She recently did.
Oh, yeah, Caitlin at Plugging Up. What'd they do?
She does so many films. Ready or Not, she just did.
Oh, nice.
Which is a banger, in my opinion. We covered that on the podcast.
That's a fun one. I like that a lot.
That's one of those. We have a couple episodes that we've done where we're like covered things where like I wish we could cover them now with our like more refined, their segments and the way our flow is now.
Right. Yeah, I kind of thought that going into it. Like I wanted to save like the good shit. Like
that's why you did stuff like Thunderheart early on. You know?
That's a good movie.
Although those are films that I love.
It is a good movie.
Once I got into this process, I was like, fuck, there are a lot of movies that Steve hasn't seen, and there's a lot of movies that I really like. Once I started putting shit
I like
up
that, Jim.
on paper.
You like under the radar films too. That's why I kind of pitched Matchstick Men, because I feel like that's one of those
And I
joints,
appreciated that too. Yeah, like
Jennifer 8 is like it's. I was thinking about rewatching the film because I've seen it once, but your review was sort of like, "Hey, watch it if you want. It's not like the best film, but like it's got enough to it that you'll enjoy." But your review of it was like, "Oh man, this plot sounds pretty cool." Like, so
yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Yeah.
I've always been a huge Andy Garcia fan. I feel like
I'm a huge Uma Thurman fan. So.
Yeah. Although, I mean, her role in Jennifer 8 was pretty slim, but
well, we don't know if she's blind or not.
It's true. I'm still not convinced. Don't even get me started.
Baseball.
Talk about a long con.
Yeah, fuck. God damn.
Talk about a boner alert.
Yeah, no shit.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, I think that's going to do it for us. Thanks again, Hydraberg, for coming on. We appreciate you making the time. And
Thanks,
can I preface real quick what we're talking about next week? I think we're doing, what is that, the 23rd? Yeah, so next episode, it's going to be a redemption, hopefully, for me. We're going to cover 1992's. 1992 again comes in threes, man. This will be like the third flick from 92. We did Jennifer 8, Basic Instinct, which hasn't released yet, and then Unforgiven it was Clint Eastwood's, he directed, Morgan Freeman. I think it got Best Picture or Best Director in that year.
That's what you're covering next week, Unforgiven?
Oscar. Yep. And
wow.
Chris from Channel 83 will be back to discuss, because I shamed, or I trashed the movie, saying that when I watched it, I didn't see what all the fucking hype was about it.
I'm a big fan of Unforgiven.
I haven't seen it in a long time. I only saw it one time, and when it fell fucking deader than a doornail for me. I like it,
personally. I think Morgan Freeman's great in it, right? It's Morgan Freeman?
Yep. It's Freeman and Clint Eastwood are the two
I also
main...
think a lot of the baggage that comes with that film is too, like, if you were around that time, you know that like Clint Eastwood had taken a break from doing westerns for a really long time. So this was like
it was a return to form.
Yeah. And so like it was a big fucking deal when this film came out, and the fact that it was his film, you know, it was
and he directed. I think he wrote
his writing, right?
Yeah,
I think he wrote it. I'm not positive, but I know he directed it.
I know he was all over it like crazy.
Yeah.
And he hadn't done a western in a long time, and it was like
Gene Hackman's really good in it too.
Yep, he is in it, and it's shot. It looks way more modern. Like it looks like a modern action film, but a western. Like it's got that sheen on it by virtue of the time I think it was made. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be a redemption. I'm maybe my opinion will change about it, but
I'm in.
Is that one, have you seen that, Steve?
Huh?
Have you seen Unforgiven?
No. But I'm in. Sounds good.
You're going into it fresh.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I personally like it, and I also just real quick, I was almost anticipating him being on the show. I enjoy Chris, and I enjoy his banter with you guys.
Yeah, Chris is the man.
He's like the third member.
Yeah,
he's like Nicole for our show.
Yeah, totally. He definitely adds to the show for sure by like acumen and like just knowledge base and just being a funny dude. Like, yeah, the same way Nicole.
I'm going to go back and listen to his show because I like
his show is fucking cool,
like,
man.
He's super informative.
It really
and I'm
is.
sort of bummed out, like, oh, he doesn't have a show anymore, too. So I'll just go listen to whatever he's put out before.
Yeah, it's super cool. One of the things that drew me in was he did like a Halloween retrospective. He did 3 films, one of which was Jacko, and he's covered The Being before. He's a fan of The Being.
Around here, we call that big money.
Arn, we're gonna get erected. And he did a Rutger Hauer retrospective too that was really cool. That kind of opened my eyes to some deep cuts from the Hauer's back catalog that are really good. I think one of them's called "Surviving the Game" with Ice-T. That I went flashback to. I was like, dude, it fucks. So
what about when he plays the blind samurai or whatever, the blind fury?
Yeah. Yeah, his shows are cool. They're nice and bite-sized. I don't think any one of them is any longer than like 20, 30 minutes. And just like his dry kind of delivery. And
he's super well-spoken.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. And he did one long player, I think, with his girlfriend. They did like a year like 1 year anniversary where they talked about some of the films that they watched and liked. That was super funny, and he kind of spreads his wings on that a little bit more in like the long form that we do. But yeah, all of his other ones are he does a lot of obscure shit, so it's fun to look at that and branch out and be like, oh cool, I'm gonna go check that out, and like shit I'd never would have heard of. So yeah, check him out too, Channel 83. He'll be back next week. Thanks again for joining us all. Final thoughts? You look like you wanted to say something, Steve.
No, I was just thinking about
baseball.
Chris is the fucking man. That guy makes me laugh.
Right on. Cool. Thanks, Hydra, for coming on again. Thank you all for tuning in. Me on. Check us out next week, and take care. Bye now.
Keep it creepy.
Uh-oh.